You won't believe these women exist. From bodies that defy biology to stories that challenge everything we think we know about strength, beauty, and identity, these are not your typical headlines. These are living, breathing miracles. Once in a lifetime, women who prove that being rare is more than unusual. It's powerful. Get ready to meet the most extraordinary women you'll ever see. Hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to witness will leave you speechless. Dejana Simmons, the girl who lived without heart. Imagine living 118 days without a heart. Not metaphorically, literally. No heartbeat, no pulse, just machines keeping you alive. Sounds like science fiction? Meet Dejana Simmons, the teenage girl from South Carolina who defied death with nothing but courage, mettle, and a miracle. At just 14, she was diagnosed with a deadly condition, dilated cardiomyopathy, a disease that made her heart too weak to keep her alive. A transplant gave her a shot at survival until it failed within days. Most people wouldn't make it past that point. But Dejana wasn't most people. Her doctors made a bold decision. They removed the failing heart and replaced it with 2 mechanical blood pumps. Dejana became one of the few humans on Earth to live with no heart at all, kept alive entirely by machines. For 118 days, she walked hospital halls, breathed, talked, existed, all without the organ that defines life. She described the experience as terrifying, saying she felt like a fake person, constantly wondering if the machines would stop. But then, a second miracle. Another donor heart became available. The surgery worked, and when her kidneys began to fail, she faced that too with another transplant. Dejana didn't just survive, she made history, and her story, it's only the beginning. Esperance Luminesca, the woman who became art. What does it take to become the most tattooed woman on Earth? For Esperance Luminesca Fuerzina, it took 15 years, 99.98% of her body, and a bold refusal to be anyone but herself. At 36, this U.S. Army veteran from Connecticut holds not 1, but 2 Guinness World Records, most tattooed woman living, and most body modifications. We're talking 89 distinct changes, from split tongue and subdermal implants to tattoos in places most people wouldn't dare imagine. Gums, eyelids, even the whites of her eyes. Nothing was off limits. It all started with a small tattoo on her hip at age 21, inspired by a past relationship. What followed wasn't just body art, it was transformation. Esperance didn't want random ink. She wanted unity, a cohesive suit, as she calls it. Her entire body as one living, breathing canvas. For her, every needle told a story, some painful, some powerful, all personal. She's been stared at, judged, misunderstood. But Esperance doesn't flinch. She owns every line, every scar, every modification, because this isn't just art, it's identity, it's rebellion, it's resilience. And she's not done yet. The world may see extreme. She sees freedom. Her body? It's her truth, written in ink. Donna Simpson, the woman who tried to be heaviest. What happens when a woman doesn't fight her weight, but embraces it with open arms, cameras rolling, and the world watching? Meet Donna Simpson, the New Jersey mother who once set out to become the heaviest woman on Earth, with a target weight of 1,000 pounds. Yes, you heard that right. At her peak, Donna weighed over 600 pounds. She consumed up to 12,000 calories a day and ran a website where fans paid to watch her eat, measure herself, and live out her weight gain journey. But this wasn't just a spectacle, it was a statement, a challenge to society's idea of beauty, control, and choice. In 2007, she gave birth to her daughter Jacqueline while weighing over 500 pounds, earning her a Guinness World Record for the heaviest woman to give birth. But things changed. Motherhood forced reflection. Donna began to slow down, acknowledging the toll on her health and the need to be present for her kids. Still, She doesn't regret the past. She says embracing her body gave her peace, something diets never did. Her story sparks controversy. Doctors raise alarms, critics shout. But Donna, she simply asks, who gets to decide how we live in our own skin? Love her or judge her, she made the world look twice. Caitlin Reed, the girl who rebuilt face and voice. She was born with a face doctors weren't sure could survive. A tiny jaw, a mouth that wouldn't open, a future filled with question marks. But Caitlin didn't come into this world to stay silent. Born with a rare condition similar to Pierre-Robin syndrome, Caitlin had an underdeveloped lower jaw, so small that it threatened her ability to eat, speak, or even breathe on her own. From day one, she fought just to exist, and she didn't stop there. Over the years, she endured multiple surgeries. One of the most intense? Doctors removed part of her rib to reconstruct her jaw. The process was painful, slow, and at times terrifying. Not every surgery went smoothly. But Caitlin never gave up. Through tubes, stitches, and setbacks, she learned how to swallow again. She ditched the feeding tube. And then, she spoke. She sang. Now 24, Caitlin is chasing something bigger than survival. She plays the drums and piano, she joined school clubs, and today she's studying criminal justice at Utah State University, determined to use her voice to defend others. She says the hardest part wasn't the pain, it was not knowing if she'd ever feel normal. But here's the truth. She was never meant to be ordinary. Caitlin's journey isn't just about medicine. It's about beating the odds with pure grit, turning scars into strength, and proving that the body may falter, but the spirit can rise louder than ever. Megan Grannon, the tiny teacher with a giant heart. She stands just 3 feet 3 inches tall. Some of her preschool students are taller than her. But don't be fooled, Megan Grannon is a giant where it truly matters. Born with metatropic dysplasia, an extremely rare form of dwarfism, doctors once told her she wouldn't survive past her first birthday. But Megan had other plans. Now 26, she's not just alive, she's thriving and teaching a classroom full of kids how to dream big no matter their size. Growing up in New Jersey, her childhood was a blur of surgeries, braces, and hospital rooms. She endured it all, not with self-pity, but with purpose. Because from a young age, Megan knew exactly who she wanted to be, a teacher. Even when people laughed at the idea, she kept believing. Today, she walks into her classroom with confidence, commanding attention not through height, but through heart. Her students don't see her as different. They see her as strong, funny, and full of love. And so do we. Her message is simple. Your size doesn't define your impact. Being rare isn't a weakness. It's a story worth telling. And Megan's story? It's one every child in her class will remember for the rest of their lives. If you like our videos, please comment 1 and 3 if you want to continue. Connie Culp, the woman who finally got her face back. One gunshot changed everything. In 2004, Connie Culp, a mother and cafe owner from Ohio, was shot in the face by her own husband in a failed murder-suicide attempt. The blast shattered her nose, cheeks, mouth, and one eye. She was left unable to eat, speak clearly, smell, or even breathe without a tube. Her face, once familiar, was gone. But Connie wasn't. Over the next 5 years, she endured more than 30 reconstructive surgeries, each one a step toward reclaiming not just her face, but her life. Then, in 2008, she made history. At the Cleveland Clinic, Connie became the first person in the United States to receive a near-total face transplant. It was a 22-hour operation that replaced over 80% of her face, bone, skin, muscles, nerves, all donated by a stranger. The results were more than physical. She could smile, smell, eat real food again, and most importantly, be seen, not for her trauma, but for her courage. Connie went on to become an advocate for organ donation and survivors of violence. Her story broke boundaries, not just in medicine, but in how we define healing. Though she passed away in 2020 due to unrelated health issues, her legacy lives on in every patient who dares to hope, in every doctor who pushes limits, and in every person who's ever had to rebuild after being broken. Because Connie didn't just survive. She taught the world what survival really looks like. Ellie Goldstein, redefining beauty on every runway. They said she might never walk, never talk. But Ellie Goldstein wasn't listening. Born in 2001 in Essex, England with Down syndrome, Ellie faced a world that often sets limits before it sees potential. But from an early age, she moved to her own rhythm, dancing at 5, performing with joy, dreaming bigger than anyone imagined. At 15, she joined Zebedee Management, a modeling agency representing people with disabilities and visible differences. That one step opened a door, and Ellie kicked it wide open. In 2020, she made history as the first model with Down syndrome to star in a global beauty campaign, Gucci Beauty's Unconventional Beauty, featured in Vogue Italia. The response? Over 800,000 likes. Gucci's most liked Instagram post ever. Ellie's presence wasn't just powerful, it was revolutionary. Since then, she's graced the covers of British Vogue, modeled for brands like Nike, Vodafone, and Superdrug, and was named Glamour UK's Game-Changing Model of the Year in 2021. In 2023, she released 2 books and became ambassador for Mattel's first Barbie with Down syndrome. But Ellie isn't just changing the fashion world, she's changing how we see ability, representation, and what beauty truly means. She walks the runway with pride, not in spite of her condition, but because of it, reminding us that difference is not something to fix. It's something to celebrate. Sofia Hajipantelli, the unibrow that sparked change. She didn't try to fit in. She made the world widen its lens. Born in Maryland to a Greek Cypriot father and a British mother, Sofia Hajipantelli never planned to be a symbol. But one bold choice, a thick, unapologetic unibrow, turned her into a global force for self-acceptance. It all started with a DIY brow tint that went way too dark. Most people would have plucked it off. Sofia kept it, named it Veronica, and made it her signature. In 2017, she launched the Stalking Unibrow movement, a campaign that dares people to embrace what makes them different. Her message? Beauty doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be real. Since then, Sofia has modeled for high-end brands, appeared in international fashion magazines, and even sat as a judge on Greece's Next Top Model. She's walked the runway not just with confidence, but with conviction. Of course, she's faced backlash, internet hate, nasty comments. But Sofia doesn't flinch. She knows that every stare, every scroll-stopping photo, every raised eyebrow is a conversation starter. Because to her, the unibrow isn't a gimmick. It's a statement, a middle finger to outdated standards, a love letter to individuality. She isn't trying to make everyone grow a unibrow. She's trying to make everyone stop hiding what makes them them. Rose Guile, the woman who proudly embraced her beard. She spent years hiding, shaving every morning, avoiding mirrors, silently wondering why her body betrayed her. But one day, Rose Guile put down the razor and picked up her power. At 13, she noticed facial hair starting to grow. By adulthood, it was full and thick, a beard most men would envy. Rose had PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, a hormonal disorder that can cause excessive hair growth. For years, she fought it in secret, waxing, plucking, lasering, crying. The emotional toll was crushing. She felt ashamed, unlovable. less of a woman. Until one day she made a radical choice: let the beard grow. What happened next shocked even her. Instead of shrinking into silence, Rose stood tall. She felt more confident, more beautiful, more herself than ever before. No more hiding, no more pretending. Her beard didn't take away her femininity, it redefined it. Yes, she still gets stares, judgment, online hate, but she also gets messages from women around the world who thank her for showing them that real beauty doesn't ask for permission. Today, Rose is living life fully, boldly, and unapologetically. Her beard didn't ruin her life. It helped her reclaim it. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to stop fixing yourself and start owning who you are. Elia Sophia, the model who turned softness to power. Some models are trained to pose. Elia Sophia just stands there, and the world can't look away. With wide-set eyes, gentle features, and an almost ethereal presence, Elia doesn't scream for attention. She whispers, and somehow, that's louder. Raised in the US and signed with Muse Management in New York, Elia's rise was anything but conventional. Her look didn't fit traditional standards. It challenged them. Designers noticed. Then Gucci came calling. She made her debut in their resort and spring-summer collections, captivating with her calm beauty and quiet confidence. Then came the bold Gucci beauty campaign in 2019. Elia's face, nearly bare, bathed in natural light, told the world perfection isn't the goal, authenticity is. Since then, she's graced the pages of Vogue Mexico, W Magazine, and starred in the iconic Gucci Love Parade in 2022. Brands like MAC, Madewell, and Self Portrait have all embraced her distinct charm. But Elia isn't just modeling clothes. She's modeling a new era, one where softness is power, difference is a gift, and beauty has no single shape. She proves that you don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes the most unforgettable voices are the quietest ones. Lyudmila Tichenkova, the woman with longest neck. Some people are born to stand out. Lyudmila Tichenkova never had a choice. At just 25 years old, she has what many believe to be the longest neck in the world, measuring an astonishing 7 inches. It's a feature that turns heads everywhere she goes, but behind the stairs is a story few truly understand. Growing up in Ukraine, Lyudmila always knew her body was different. Her limbs stretched longer than other kids. Her spine curved unnaturally. Her neck, it kept growing. Doctors eventually diagnosed her with Marfan syndrome, a rare connective tissue disorder that affects bones, eyes, and even the heart. As her body transformed, so did her life. Clothes didn't fit. Strangers whispered. The mirror became both a mystery and a challenge. She struggled with self-consciousness, unsure whether to hide or embrace what made her so visibly rare. But Lyudmila chose power over shame. Instead of concealing her differences, she started owning them, sharing her story publicly, educating others, reminding the world that beauty isn't always symmetrical or even comfortable. Today, Lyudmila is more than her diagnosis. She's a symbol of how nature, in its wildest designs, still makes room for grace. Her neck may be the longest, but what truly sets her apart is her courage to stand tall, just as she is. The Apatani women, the tribe that tattooed strength. High in the lush valleys of Arunachal Pradesh, India, lives a tribe where beauty once came with danger, and protection meant ink and bone. Meet the Apatani women, known not only for their grace and elegance, but for a tradition that speaks of strength born from necessity. Decades ago, the Apatani were famed for their beauty, but that beauty came at a cost. Neighboring tribes would abduct Apatani women, taking them from their homes and families. So the women made a powerful, painful choice. They began tattooing their faces and inserting large nose plugs, symbols meant to deter attackers and reclaim ownership of their bodies. These bold modifications weren't about vanity, they were about survival, resistance, etched into skin. Today, this practice is banned, but the elder women still wear those marks with pride. They are living reminders of a past where women refused to be taken, even if it meant altering how the world saw them. Beyond their appearance, the Apatani live in harmony with the earth, farming rice and fish side by side without machines, preserving nature through tradition. They worship the sun and moon, honor the land, and celebrate life through vibrant festivals like Mayoko and Dree. In a world rushing to modernize, the Apatani remain rooted and radiant. Their ink tells stories of resistance, their eyes tell stories of survival, and their legacy, it's written across generations. Marla Runyon, the blind woman who outran the world. She couldn't see the finish line, but that never stopped her from crossing it first. Marla Runyon was just 9 years old when she was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, a rare form of macular degeneration that slowly erased her central vision. By adulthood, she was legally blind. Most people would have accepted limits. Marla chose to push them. She began running, first in local races, then on bigger tracks, eventually making history. Marla didn't just compete in the Paralympics, where she won 5 gold medals. She did the unthinkable. She qualified for the 2000 Sydney Olympic Games, becoming the first legally blind athlete to ever compete against able-bodied runners. In the 1500-meter final, she didn't just show up, she placed 8th in the world. But Marla wasn't done. She went on to win U.S. national titles in long-distance races like the 5K and 20K, and even took on the New York City and Boston marathons, finishing with elite-level times. Off the track, Marla is a motivational speaker, author, and educator, sharing her journey through her book, No Finish Line. Her story isn't just about athletics, it's about vision. Not what you see, but what you believe is possible. Because when the world told her you can't, Marla tied her shoes tighter and proved it wrong, one stride at a time. Risikat Aziz, the woman with blue eyes and brown. In a small town in Nigeria, a baby girl was born with something so rare, so striking, that people couldn't stop staring. Risikat Kadiri had bright blue eyes, not contact lenses, not a trick of the light, natural ocean-deep blue in a land where almost everyone has brown eyes. No one in her family shared the trait. Not her mother, not her father. It was as if nature had painted something different, just once. At first, people thought it was a medical issue. But her vision was perfect. No pain, no complications, just pure, stunning pigment passed down by some mysterious twist in genetics. Then came her daughters, both born with the same rare blue eyes. What began as beauty quickly turned into judgment. According to reports, her husband distanced himself from the family, allegedly because of the attention their daughter's eyes brought. Rumors swirled. He denied abandoning them, saying he had married her because of those eyes. But through it all, Risikat stood tall, never hiding, never ashamed. Media outlets picked up her story, and soon the world was captivated. Scientists say blue eyes in people of African descent are incredibly rare, usually tied to unique gene mutations or ancient ancestry. But to Risikat, it's not about science. It's about identity. It's about the beauty of being born different. Because in a world full of sameness, sometimes all it takes is a glance to know you're one in a million. Clementine, the girl who rose from fire and pain. She was only 4 years old when her world caught fire, literally. Clementine was playing in the kitchen when she fell into an open flame. In seconds, her childhood changed forever. Her face was severely burned, her hair scorched away, her skin blistered beyond recognition. She once said, My face looked like roasted meat, and my eyes felt like they were falling out. Doctors didn't know if she'd survive, but Clementine did more than survive. She endured. She spent much of her youth in hospitals, sometimes visiting twice a week, skin grafts, bone removal, endless procedures. At one point, surgeons took skin from her arm to rebuild the damaged area around her eye. The pain was constant. So were the migraines. So were the stares. Kids avoided her. Strangers whispered. She was bullied, called names, and compared to animals. She never had a relationship. And for a time, she thought no one would ever truly see her. But slowly, Clementine stopped waiting for the world to accept her and started accepting herself. Now 23, she's working toward becoming a professional accountant. Not because life got easier, but because she got stronger. She no longer hides from mirrors. She no longer cares what others say. She wears her scars like medals, reminders of what she's been through and what she's still capable of. Because from the ashes, Clementine didn't just rise. She became unbreakable. Amanda Grice, the woman who lives in arousal. Most people think desire is something you control. For Amanda Grice, it became a prison she couldn't escape. From the outside, Amanda looked like any young woman from Florida, but inside her body, something had gone terribly wrong. She was diagnosed with one of the world's rarest and most misunderstood conditions, persistent genital arousal disorder, PGAD. Unlike normal arousal, PGAD causes uncontrollable and constant sexual sensations without desire and without relief. Amanda once described it as living in a body stuck on overdrive. She experienced up to 100 orgasms a day. Not pleasure, pain, not intimacy, isolation. It stole her sleep, ruined her relationships, made everyday life unbearable. Going outside felt risky. Even sitting still could trigger hours of agonizing symptoms. For years, Amanda suffered in silence. Most doctors didn't understand her condition. Some didn't believe it was real. But she kept fighting, desperate for answers, for peace. Eventually, she found a specialist, Dr. Robert Eckenberg, who helped her through a combination of medication and physical therapy. Her symptoms didn't disappear, but they became manageable. By bravely sharing her story on shows like Body Bazaar, Amanda didn't just speak for herself, she gave voice to countless others suffering in silence. Her condition may sound like a fantasy, but for Amanda, it was a nightmare. And speaking out? That was her way of taking her life back. Duangjae Samaxamam, the woman with giant arm. At first glance, it looks surreal. One arm, impossibly large, almost like something out of a special effects movie. But for this unnamed woman, it's real. And it's her everyday reality. She lives with a condition so rare, most doctors will never see a case in their entire career. It's called macrodystrophia lipomatosa, a disorder where fat and bone tissue grow uncontrollably, usually affecting one limb. In her case, it was her arm. The swelling started in childhood. What began as a slight difference became something much more dramatic. Over time, the arm became heavier, bulkier, harder to manage. It affects her balance, her ability to dress, move, even sleep. But more than that, it affects how people look at her. She's been called names, pointed at, stared at like a spectacle. But what they don't see is the strength it takes to live in a body that doesn't follow the rules. She's not hiding, she's adapting. And she's still showing up every day, refusing to shrink into the background. Doctors have explored surgical options, but due to the complexity and risk, treatment isn't always possible or safe. For now, she carries the weight, literally. And yet her story isn't one of shame or defeat. It's one of quiet resilience. She reminds us that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones you fight with no spotlight, just courage in the face of every mirror. Talmisha Jones, The mom making stretch marks sexy. In a world obsessed with filters and perfection, Talmisha Jones shows up with stretch marks and a smile. From San Antonio, Texas, Talsha is a mom, influencer, and entrepreneur who's rewriting the rules of beauty. Her message: real bodies, real curves, real confidence. And she's not whispering it. She's owning it with bold photos, big energy, and unapologetic pride. After becoming a mother, Talmisha noticed how society pushed women to bounce back and erase every trace of pregnancy. But instead of hiding her body, she chose to celebrate it. She proudly calls herself the mom making stretch marks sexy. Through her platform and brand, Tigress Beauty Club, she shares empowering content with over 75,000 followers, blending fashion, fitness, and fearless self-love. Her posts often feature her dancing, working out, or rocking bold outfits that show exactly what most ads try to blur out: the beauty of being real. She reminds women that strength doesn't mean flat abs. It means raising kids, healing from birth, showing up anyway. Her authenticity is what makes her magnetic. What sets Talmisha apart isn't her body, it's her honesty. She's not selling perfection. She's living proof that beauty begins when shame ends. To every woman doubting herself, Talsha says, your body tells a story. Wear it with pride. They were born different, but they chose to live unforgettable. These women defied every limit, every stare, every expectation. Some lived without hearts. Some rewrote beauty standards. Others turned scars into symbols of strength. What they share isn't just rarity, it's resilience. They remind us that real power doesn't come from fitting in. It comes from standing out and standing proud. In a world chasing perfection, they chose authenticity. In a world that doubted them, they believed in themselves. So here's to the ones who were born once in 1,000 years and chose to become one in 1,000,000. Think your family's a little different? You haven't seen anything yet. From inked-up toddlers to royal dynasties with hundreds of kids, these families don't just break the mold, they shatter it. Strange, bold, and jaw-droppingly real, their lives flip normal on its head. Buckle up. These aren't just stories. They're the wildest, weirdest families on Earth. And trust us, you won't believe number one. Trap family. The world's tallest family. Think your family stands out? Meet the Traps, the real-life giants of Minnesota who turn heads without even trying. In the quiet town of Esco, this seemingly ordinary family has earned a very extraordinary title, the tallest family in the world. With an average height of 6 feet 8 inches, Scott and Chrissy Trapp, along with their children Savannah, Molly, and Adam, have redefined what it means to live life on a higher level, literally. You'd think they're basketball pros or some kind of sports legends, but nope, they're just your everyday family, except nothing about their life is everyday. In their home, doorways are forehead traps, showers feel like garden hoses, and finding a pair of jeans is a full-blown quest. Beds have to be custom built. Airplane rides, a tight squeeze, grocery store trips, less shopping, more gawking. Wherever they go, necks crane and whispers follow. Did you see how tall they are? But instead of shrinking from the attention, the Traps have learned to rise above it, with humor, humility, and a whole lot of headroom. They laugh about spotting each other from across a football field and joke about their family motto, "Watch your head." What could have been a burden has become their signature, and a source of pride. Their story isn't just about breaking height records. It's about towering over challenges, embracing what makes you different, and living large, in every sense of the word. So next time you struggle with high shelves or cramped legroom, just be glad you're not ducking through life like the Traps. Being tall might seem glamorous, but for this family, it's just Tuesday. Schlanker family tongue tightens. Most families pass down heirlooms or recipes. The Schlankers? They pass down Guinness World Records by the inch. In the quiet city of Syracuse, New York, Byron Schlanker and his daughter Emily hold a distinction few can even imagine: the widest tongues in the world. Byron's measures a mind-blowing 3.37 inches across, wider than the average smartphone, while Emily follows close behind with a tongue nearly 3 inches wide. Yes, you read that right. Their family legacy isn't in books, it's right behind their teeth. It all started with a school project. Emily was researching unusual world records when Byron, half-joking, decided to measure his own tongue. What began as a playful moment turned into a record-breaking revelation. Not long after, Emily joined the legacy, and the two of them became certified Guinness champions. Dinner table conversations? Let's just say they're anything but ordinary. When your tongue can practically double as a fan, small talk takes on a whole new meaning. But here's the twist. Instead of hiding or downplaying their freakishly fascinating feature, the Schlankers have turned it into a badge of honor. They appear on talk shows, pose for magazine spreads, and even poke fun at themselves in viral videos. Their motto: if you've got it, stick it out. What could have been a lifelong insecurity became their biggest source of joy and fame. For Byron and Emily, it's not just about measurements. It's about embracing the parts of yourself that most people would hide and turning them into something unforgettable. Because let's be honest, in a world where everyone's trying to fit in, sometimes it pays to stand out, or in this case, stick out. 7 Raj, a family that lives in 2 colors. If you think choosing an outfit is hard, imagine narrowing it down to just 2 colors for life. Welcome to the world of 7 Raj, a man so obsessed with red and white that he didn't just make it a style, he made it his entire reality. In the bustling city of Bengaluru, India, 7 and his family have turned their home, wardrobes, and even their toothpaste tubes into a monochrome tribute to crimson and snow. That's right. Everything they own, wear, or touch must be red or white. No exceptions, no compromises. It started in 7's teenage years as a personal preference, but over time, that preference grew into a philosophy, then a lifestyle, and finally, a family legacy. When he married Pushpa, she didn't just accept the color obsession, she embraced it. Together, they raised children who now march through life in matching shades, turning every public appearance into a head-turning spectacle of coordination and control. From furniture to kitchen appliances, school uniforms to streetwear, if it's not red or white, it's out. Their neighbors don't need to see faces to know who's coming. The bold contrast gives them away. Their home is a shrine to aesthetic devotion. The refrigerator, red, the curtains, white, even the family car, crimson, of course. And while most people spend hours mixing and matching, the Raj family lives by one simple rule. If it's not red or white, it doesn't exist. Some call it quirky, others call it extreme. But for 7 Raj, it's purity, clarity, and identity. Red symbolizes energy. White means peace. Together, they create a visual harmony that defines every corner of their lives. And in a world drowning in distractions and chaos, this family found peace in 2 colors and never looked back. 3 wives, 1 life, the Darger family. Imagine trying to balance dinner plans, school runs, and family time with 3 wives and 25 kids under one roof. Welcome to the Darger family of Utah, where marriage is multiplied and family life is a full-scale operation. Joe Darger isn't your average husband. He shares his life and love with Alina, Vicky, and Valerie. But this isn't a drama-filled reality show. It's a deeply structured, shockingly functional, and surprisingly loving family dynamic built on faith, trust, and military-grade time management. And here's the twist. Vicky and Valerie are twin sisters, while Alina is their best friend. Together, they've created a home that redefines traditional marriage. They co-parent, co-manage, and coexist in a household where every detail, from birthdays to bedtime, is planned like a launch sequence. One week, Joe might be helping with a school project, the next, juggling 3 anniversaries and a mountain of laundry. It's not chaos, it's choreography. Of course, disagreements happen. But here's their secret weapon: majority rule. When 3 wives vote, the outcome is usually clear. And Joe learns to adapt. The family has even co-written a book, Love Times 3, where they share their story in their own words, honest, vulnerable, and free of the media's usual sensationalism. This is not a cult. It's not a scandal. It's a real family navigating love and life with more patience, humor, and coordination than most of us can manage with just one spouse. For the Dargers, it's not about breaking rules. It's about living their truth together. And if love multiplies, maybe family does too. Tattoo baby, the toddler who broke the internet. Most babies wear onesies. Teelan wears tattoos. At first glance, you might do a double take. A chubby-cheeked toddler covered in elaborate ink, from tiny biceps to his round little chest. But before you panic, take a breath. None of it is real. These tattoos are temporary, safe, and purely for fun. And yet they've sparked one of the biggest internet controversies of the decade. Welcome to the bold, unapologetic world of Shekya Morris, the Florida mom who turned her baby into a viral icon and didn't blink when the internet lost its mind. When Shekya began posting photos of her son dressed like a mini rock star, complete with fake sleeves, gold chains, and a pose to match, social media exploded. Some called it creative, others called it irresponsible. What kind of mother does this? They asked. Her answer? A confident one. Shekya shrugged off the backlash, proudly calling her son a baby badass and insisting he loves every photo shoot. And based on his wide-eyed giggles and camera-ready smile, it's hard to argue. What began as a playful experiment quickly turned into full-blown fame. Teelan now boasts a massive online following, with fans from around the world waiting for the next photo set. There's no brand deals, no agenda, just a mom, a camera, and a baby with serious style. Shekya isn't trying to make a statement about parenting. She's just having fun, and she refuses to let judgment stop her from expressing creativity. In a world where everything is filtered and perfect, this mom and son duo chose to be loud, bold, and different. And they struck a nerve. Love it or hate it, Tattoo Baby has become an internet legend. And behind the ink, just a happy kid and a mom who dared to break the mold. The king with 100 wives, royalty at maximum capacity. Think your family reunions are chaotic? Try hosting dinner for 100 wives and nearly 500 children. In the lush, mountainous kingdom of Bafut, Cameroon, King Abumbi II doesn't just rule a nation. He commands a palace filled with more relatives than most people meet in a lifetime. After inheriting 72 wives from his late father, the king didn't stop there. He expanded his royal roster to over 100 wives, each with a role, a voice, and a place in his sprawling empire. This isn't just about love or romance. It's tradition, power, and legacy woven into royal bloodlines. In Bafut culture, more wives mean more influence, a show of prosperity, a living symbol of strength. But let's be real. Managing hundreds of relationships, birthdays, arguments, and ambitions isn't just regal, it's logistical warfare. Imagine a family calendar that looks like a spreadsheet exploded. Imagine navigating school fees, meal prep, and diplomatic duties multiplied by 100. And yet somehow, it works. The palace doesn't crumble under pressure. Instead, it runs like a well-oiled machine. Each wife has responsibilities, from managing affairs of state to mentoring younger queens. Children are raised in a community-like environment, steeped in custom, structure, and respect for the crown. The king himself? Calm, composed, and endlessly diplomatic. The CEO of one of the world's most jaw-dropping royal dynasties. To outsiders, it may seem excessive, even impossible. But within the kingdom walls, it's a way of life, a spectacle of tradition and survival, loyalty and hierarchy. And for King Abumbi too, this isn't about fame or records. It's about honoring history, preserving identity, and building a legacy that echoes far beyond the palace gates. Linda and Timmy, the family that does it all without hands. What if life took away your arms, but gave you unshakable determination instead? Meet Linda Bannon and her son Timmy, a mother-son duo from Illinois who were both born without arms due to a rare genetic condition called Holt-Oram syndrome. But don't expect tears or pity. Expect to be amazed, because this family doesn't just survive, they thrive. With their feet as their tools, their wit as their weapon, and their love as their fuel, they do everything most people do, just differently. Linda brushes her teeth, applies makeup, drives, and even cooks using only her toes, with the kind of grace and speed that makes jaws drop. And little Timmy? He's right behind her. He plays video games, types homework, swims, and zips through life with a confidence that leaves you wondering, how does he make it look so easy? The answer? Practice, patience, and a lot of laughter. Because in this house, when someone asks, how do you manage? The answer is always the same. No arms, no problem. What could have been a life full of limitations became a life full of adaptations. They don't dwell on what's missing. They focus on what's possible, and it shows in every movement, every smile, every creative workaround. Sure, there are challenges. Of course, there are tough days. But Linda and Timmy don't ask for sympathy. They ask for space to prove that disability isn't the end of ability. It's just a different path to the same destination. In a world that often underestimates what people with disabilities can do, this family redefines what strength, independence, and resilience truly look like. They're not just beating the odds, they're rewriting the script. And trust us, it's one you'll never forget. Anton Kraft and China Bell, the couple who defied inches and expectations. What happens when the world's strongest small man falls head over heels for a woman who towers above him, in heels or not? You get Anton Kraft and China Bell, a couple that stops traffic, sparks conversations, and shatters every cliché about what love is supposed to look like. Standing at just 4 feet 4 inches, Anton isn't just a Guinness World Record holder for lifting 4 times his body weight. He's living proof that size means nothing when your heart's bigger than your frame. And his heart? It belongs to China Bell, a statuesque, glamorous woman who stands 6 feet 3 inches tall and just happens to be a proud transgender model. When they walk into a room, people stare. Some out of surprise, others out of curiosity, and yes, some with judgment. But Anton and China don't flinch. They smile, laugh, and keep on walking. Their chemistry? Unmistakable. Their bond? Unbreakable. They met through mutual friends in Florida, and sparks flew instantly. Not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Anton jokes that being short just means he's closer to China's heart. China teases that Anton may be small, but his confidence is huge. Of course, they've heard it all. The whispers, the online trolls, the skeptics. But they've tuned it all out with one simple truth. Love doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't care about height, gender, or what strangers think. It cares about connection, about laughter, about lifting each other up, sometimes quite literally. Anton and China don't just date boldly, they love boldly. And in doing so, they remind the rest of us that what really makes a relationship powerful isn't how it looks. It's how it feels. The Genderless family, that said no to gender rules. In a world obsessed with pink or blue, Ari and Julia Dennis chose something radically different, neither. Their child, named Sparrow, is growing up without gender. No labels, no pronouns locked in at birth, and no boxes to check, just freedom. From the moment Sparrow was born in Florida, this bold family decided not to reveal, or even acknowledge, their child's biological sex. Instead, they've embraced a philosophy that shocks some and inspires others. Let the child decide who they are. Sparrow is what's known as a they-bee, a gender-neutral baby raised without stereotypes, colors, or societal expectations. Clothes, gender-free, toys, open to all, pronouns, they, them, until Sparrow chooses differently. Even extended family and neighbors are kept in the dark, because for Ari and Julia, this isn't a gimmick. It's a mission to give their child true autonomy in a world that often assigns identity before a baby takes their first step. The internet, of course, exploded. Critics called it dangerous, extreme, even delusional. Supporters hailed it as revolutionary parenting, but for Ari and Julia, it's not about headlines. It's about freedom. They believe every child deserves the right to discover who they are without pressure, shame, or pink and blue propaganda. And Sparrow, happy, curious, expressive, thriving on their own terms. They've appeared on TV, been grilled by talk show hosts, and faced more judgment than most families ever will. But through it all, they stand firm, united by a simple belief: love isn't about fitting in. It's about letting someone be. Whether or not you agree with their method, one thing's undeniable. The Dennis family is forcing the world to rethink what it really means to raise a child. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. Six Fingers family with more to hold on to. What if having extra fingers wasn't a mutation, but a superpower? Meet the De Silva family from Brazil, where having 6 fingers on each hand isn't rare, it's the norm. Spread across 4 generations and 14 proud members, this extraordinary family lives with a condition called polydactyly, and they're not hiding it. In fact, they flaunt it. With 12 fingers per person, they've turned a genetic anomaly into a point of pride and a playful source of strength. They joke that they're unbeatable at piano duets, video games, and anything that involves grip strength. Need help carrying groceries? Call a De Silva? Need a faster typist? They've got a few. Their extra digits aren't clumsy or awkward. They're fully functional, dexterous, and surprisingly elegant. In their household, it's not, "Do you have 6 fingers?" It's, "Wait, you only have 10? Science calls it a dominant genetic trait. The family calls it legacy. In fact, when a baby is born with only 5 fingers per hand, it's considered the exception, not the rule. They've become local legends in their community, affectionately nicknamed the High Six Heroes. Tourists even stop by hoping to catch a glimpse, and the family, they welcome it all with open palms, extra wide ones. But beyond the novelty, there's something beautiful in how they've embraced what makes them different. They don't shrink from stares. They wave back. They don't hide their hands. They lead with them. In a world that often demands sameness, the De Silvas remind us that more isn't something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. And sometimes the hand you're dealt turns out to be a winning one, especially when it comes with a bonus finger. Largest hairy family, beauty beneath the fur. If you think a bad hair day is the worst that could happen, the Gomez Aceves family from Mexico would like a word, and maybe a comb. Known as the hairiest family in the world, they hold a Guinness World Record not for talent or strength, but for something far more eye-catching, a rare condition called congenital generalized hypertrichosis, or as some call it, werewolf syndrome. Their bodies, from head to toe, are covered in thick, dark hair, not just on their arms or faces, but on every inch of visible skin. To the outside world, it might seem like a curse, But to the Gomez-Aceves clan, it's simply who they are. Victor Larry Gomez, one of the family's most recognized faces, though you can barely see it beneath the fur, has taken his unique appearance and turned it into a career. He performs, models, and proudly shares his story on stages around the world, transforming stares of confusion into applause. Growing up, life wasn't easy. There were whispers in the street, cruel nicknames, and the constant pressure to hide. But this family didn't retreat. They adapted, they embraced, they celebrated. Shampoo and grooming routines may take hours, but what they've built is something far more lasting than appearance, unshakable self-worth. Dating, school, public life, they've faced it all with humor and courage. Larry once joked that the hardest part about being hairy was keeping cool in the summer. But behind that laugh is a story of acceptance that goes far beyond genetics. It's about owning who you are in a world that tells you to blend in, and choosing to stand out anyway. In a culture obsessed with filters and perfection, the Gomez-Aceves family flips the script. Their fur may be thick, but their skin is even tougher. And through it all, they've shown us that real beauty isn't about fitting someone's standard. It's about boldly, unapologetically being yourself. Smul Salava family with flair, with striking beauty in their DNA. In a world obsessed with blending in, the Souza family was born to shine, literally. From the moment Samuel Silva entered the world in Brazil, there was no mistaking him for anyone else. With bright white streaks of hair, porcelain skin patches, and a gaze full of quiet fire, Samuel carries the rare genetic condition called piebaldism, a harmless mutation that creates bold contrasts in pigmentation. But what made him extraordinary wasn't just the look, it was the pride, the power, and the fact that he wasn't alone. Piebaldism runs through generations of the Souza family. His mother, grandmother, and several relatives all bear the same striking features, like nature's own artistic signature passed from one soul to the next. While others might have hidden behind hats or makeup, the Souzas stepped forward, especially Samuel. He turned what some call a flaw into a fashion statement, and soon into a modeling career. Catwalks, magazine covers, photo shoots. Samuel embraced the spotlight not just for himself, but for every kid who's ever been called different. With his confidence, he helped redefine beauty standards and showed the world that uniqueness isn't something to cover up, it's something to celebrate. And the best part? His entire family walked that path with him, all of them glowing with the same radiant pride. Behind the camera flashes and global attention is a story of legacy, love, and fierce self-acceptance. The Souza family didn't ask to be different. They just refused to be anything else. And in doing so, they didn't just change their own narrative. They lit a path for others to follow, streaked in white and shining brighter than ever. The four-legged family, walking the ancient path. In a quiet rural village in Turkey, there lives a family that has baffled scientists, defied medical logic, and sparked global fascination. Meet the eyelash family, 5 siblings who don't walk upright like the rest of us. Instead, they move using both their hands and feet, in a way that seems pulled straight from the pages of human evolution. It's called quadrupedal locomotion, and it's real. No, they're not acting. No, it's not temporary. For them, walking on all fours is as natural as breathing. When news of their condition reached the world, curiosity turned to chaos. Were they a throwback to prehistoric humans? Was this evolution in reverse? Researchers from across the globe flew in, cameras followed, and theories flew. But beyond the headlines and speculation was something far simpler. A family doing their best to live life, just differently. The condition stems from a rare form of cerebellar ataxia, a disorder that affects balance and coordination, and instead of forcing themselves to walk upright and fall constantly, the eyelash children adapted in the most instinctive way possible. And here's what's truly wild. Despite the world's obsession with their movement, the family themselves remain largely unfazed. They've learned to laugh at the attention, joke about being ground specialists, and shrug off the whispers of people who don't understand. What others see as bizarre, they see as normal. Their story isn't about being primitive. It's about resilience, about finding a way forward, even if it's not the way everyone else is walking. And while the world stares, the eyelash family just keeps moving, on all fours, with heads held high. The Monochrome family, beauty beyond the swell. In a small village tucked away in North Sumatra, Indonesia, lives a family whose appearance turns heads, not because of style or fashion, but because of an ultra-rare genetic condition that shapes their faces into something the world can't stop staring at. Meet the Monochrome family, a remarkable lineage affected by cherubism, a disorder that causes the bones in the face, particularly the cheeks and jaw, to grow larger and rounder over time, giving them a puffed, almost angelic look that's anything but ordinary. To outsiders, their appearance seems surreal. Some people whisper, others stare. Many ask questions that land like bruises. But within their family, there's no shame, no hiding, only strength. In fact, they've learned to lean into the humor of it. One uncle jokes that they were born with built-in airbags. A cousin calls their cheeks permanent baby fat, and they all laugh, because what else can you do when the world refuses to look away? Over the years, their story has quietly spread beyond the borders of their village, catching attention on social media and in rare medical journals. But for the Monochromes, fame isn't the goal, acceptance is. And they've found it, in each other, in their community, and within themselves. Where others might retreat, they gather together for family photos, smiling wide with faces full of love and life. Their condition is rare. Their courage? Even rarer. And as they continue to grow, not just in cheekbones but in character, the Monochrome family sends a powerful message to the world. You don't have to look normal to live beautifully. The Marshall family, the fake boob family. In a quiet corner of Nottinghamshire, England, there lives a family that takes like mother, like daughter, to a whole new level, a level measured in silicone, symmetry, and scandal. Meet the Marshall family, where breast augmentation isn't just a beauty choice. It's practically a family tradition. It all started with Chantel Marshall, a psychic and grandmother who, back in 1996, decided her 34B chest needed a dramatic upgrade. Fast forward a few years, and her 4 daughters had followed her lead, undergoing a combined 13 breast surgeries, racking up nearly $50,000 in cosmetic procedures. Together, they've become known in the local press as the fake boob family, and they wear that title like a badge of honor, with matching outfits, identical makeup, and synchronized curves that would put a girl group to shame. To Chantel, this isn't vanity, it's vision. She believes a bold, glamorous look helps her daughters stand out in a world that constantly pressures women to be beautiful. So why not own it? From daily hair routines to their high-gloss Instagram lives, every detail is curated, polished, and amplified, including their cup sizes. But not everyone's on board. Brittany, the youngest daughter, has held out, still a teen, still natural, still unsure if she wants to join the family tradition. And that hesitation has raised questions about pressure, identity, and how far is too far when it comes to looking alike. Still, the Marshalls remain unapologetic. For them, matching isn't about losing individuality, it's about celebrating a shared aesthetic, a lifestyle they chose together. It's easy to judge a family like this. But peel back the layers of makeup, procedure, and social media, and what you find is a unit fiercely loyal to each other and fiercely committed to standing out. In a world that loves to whisper about fake, the Marshalls are as real as it gets, just a little shinier. Forget filters. These people don't need them. While most of us edit selfies to chase likes, There are real individuals whose appearances are so striking, they look almost unreal. From a Russian albino child with 2 different eyes, to a living Barbie, to models with skin like porcelain or freckles like constellations. These are faces that redefine beauty. Are they human, art, or something in between? Let's find out. Yuan. Imagine walking into a hospital and being greeted not just by a nurse, but by someone who looks like she could step straight out of a video game. That's Yuan Herong, a healthcare worker from China who has stunned the internet with her extraordinary physique. At first glance, she looks like any other professional in her crisp white coat. But when she steps into the gym, she transforms into something else entirely. A powerhouse with legs so strong they've earned her the nickname the real-life Chun-Li, after the iconic Street Fighter character. Herong spends nearly all her free time training. The result? A sculpted athletic body that radiates discipline and strength. While most people use filters to appear more striking, Yuan doesn't need them. Her photos and videos are raw proof of the power of dedication. Thousands online marvel at her training clips, joking that she could crush a watermelon with her thighs. But beyond the memes and comparisons, there's a serious message. Her transformation didn't come from shortcuts, but from years of persistence. What makes Yuan so compelling isn't just her physical appearance, it's the duality of her life. By day, she cares for patients, embodying compassion and precision. By night, she becomes a warrior in the gym, showing that beauty and strength are not opposites, but partners. She's proof that you can live outside the mold, and that sometimes the most powerful version of yourself comes from embracing what makes you unique. Amina Ependieva. Some faces are unforgettable not because they follow the rules of beauty, but because they rewrite them. At just 11 years old, Amina Ependieva from Russia has become a quiet sensation on social media thanks to her breathtakingly rare genetic traits. Born with albinism, her skin, hair, and eyelashes are as white as snow, giving her a luminous, almost ethereal appearance. But that's not the only thing that sets her apart. Amina also has heterochromia, meaning her eyes are 2 different colors, one a deep brown, the other a piercing blue. Albinism alone is rare. Heterochromia is rare. To have both in one person? Practically 1 in a million. Usually, people with albinism have irises so light they appear reddish in certain lights. But Amina's striking combination is something even more unusual, and it's what turned her into an online star almost overnight. Her photos spread quickly, not just because of her unique appearance, but because of the sense of wonder they evoke. She looks like she stepped out of a fantasy novel, half fairy tale princess, half real-world miracle. And yet behind the viral images is just a child who enjoys life like any other, proving that extraordinary beauty doesn't erase ordinary joy. What makes Amina's story resonate isn't just the way she looks, it's what she represents. In a digital age obsessed with filters and manufactured perfection, Amina reminds us that nature can create marvels far beyond our imagination. She isn't trying to be different, she simply is, and that authenticity is what makes her unforgettable. Yuliana Yusuf. When Yuliana Yusuf was a child growing up in Ukraine, the world didn't always see her beauty. She was born with a rare condition that left nearly 1/3 of her skin covered in birthmarks, stretching across her back, thighs, stomach, arms, and even her face. Instead of admiration, she often faced cruel jokes. Kids at school called her names like Dalmatian or cow, and some even suggested she could just wash it off. But Yuliana's story didn't end there. What once drew ridicule is now the very thing that sets her apart in the fashion world. With courage and persistence, she turned her unique skin into a symbol of individuality. Today, she has over 120,000 followers on Instagram, a growing modeling career, and a fan base that celebrates her difference rather than mocking it. Her photos are more than beautiful images. They are statements. Each one says that uniqueness is power and that no one should be limited by outdated ideas of perfection. In an industry that often thrives on sameness, Juliana proves that the most striking beauty comes from authenticity. What makes her rise even more powerful is the contrast between where she started and where she is now. The girl who once tried to blend in has become a woman who stands out, and she does so unapologetically. Juliana Youssef is not just a model. She's a reminder that our so-called flaws can become our fiercest strengths when we stop hiding and start owning who we are. Deborah Moreno. When Deborah Moreno was a little girl, she noticed something unusual, a pale spot on her face. At first, it seemed harmless, but over the years, more and more appeared, on her arms, her legs, across her skin. By the age of 15, there was no way to hide them. Deborah had vitiligo, a condition where the skin loses its pigment in patches. For many teenagers, this would have been devastating. And at first, it was for Deborah. She endured bullying, name-calling, even cruel comparisons to animals and monsters. But instead of letting those voices define her, she found her own. At the moment, she decided to stop hiding and step in front of a camera. Everything changed. Today, Deborah is a successful model whose striking look captivates photographers and audiences alike. Her contrasting skin tones aren't something to cover up. They're her signature, the feature that makes her unforgettable. The same spots that classmates once mocked are now celebrated on magazine covers and runways. What makes Deborah's story remarkable isn't just her career. It's her message. She uses her platform to show others with vitiligo that what makes them different can also make them powerful. Beauty doesn't mean blending in. Sometimes it means daring to stand out. Deborah Moreno didn't choose vitiligo, but she chose how to live with it. And by embracing her uniqueness, she has turned what once felt like a weakness into a source of strength and inspiration. Bashir Aziz. For years, Bashir Aziz tried to stay invisible. Born with vitiligo, the same condition that changes skin pigmentation in patches, he spent most of his life covering up with long sleeves and quiet routines. Even his hair began to turn white in certain places, a constant reminder that he didn't look like everyone else. To him, it felt safer to blend in, to keep his uniqueness hidden away. But one day, everything shifted. Someone suggested that his striking face, the sharp contrast of tones, the patterns across his skin, could actually make him famous. At first, he laughed it off. Famous? For something he'd spent his life hiding? It sounded like a cruel joke. And then, he took the leap. Aziz stepped into modeling, and the world responded with awe. What he had once seen as a burden became his strength. His photos weren't just portraits. They were bold statements about beauty, diversity, and courage. The comments flooding in weren't insults anymore. They were compliments, words of admiration, encouragement, and even gratitude from people who saw themselves in his story. Now, Aziz isn't just a model. He's an activist. He uses his platform to talk about acceptance, to prove that beauty doesn't have one definition. By embracing what makes him different, he's helping to reshape the entire conversation around fashion and identity. Maria Oz. At first glance, you might think her photos are edited, that some oversized anime filter has been applied. But no, Maria Oz's eyes are really that big. They take up nearly half her face, giving her a look so surreal that she often seems like a living illustration rather than a real person. And yet, she is entirely real. No tricks, no filters, just the fascinating way she was born. Maria grew up wanting to pursue modeling, but her height didn't fit the traditional standards of the industry. Many would have stopped there, but Maria chose another route. Instead of chasing the rules, she made her own. She launched a blog called The Spiritualized Face, where she embraced her unique features and created a space for art, self-expression, and creativity. Her giant eyes, once a point of doubt, became her signature. Online, she quickly gathered a following of people who were captivated by her appearance, not because it matched the fashion world's narrow standards, but because it broke them in the most striking way. But Maria didn't stop at photos. She also explored stop-motion videos, blending her look with artistic storytelling, proving that her beauty wasn't just visual, it was visionary. Maria Oz is more than a girl with extraordinary eyes. She's a reminder that sometimes the things we think make us too different are exactly what make us unforgettable. In a world of sameness, she chose to stand out, and the world couldn't look away. Vera Ivanishvili. If the casting directors of The Witcher or Game of Thrones had been looking for a ready-made star, they wouldn't have needed wigs or special effects. They could have called Vera Ivanishvili. With naturally white hair and even a snow-colored beard, Vera looks like he stepped straight out of a fantasy saga. His appearance is so striking that many joke he could have played Geralt of Rivia without a single drop of makeup. But Vera isn't just a face made for legend. Born the son of a Georgian billionaire, he could have simply lived a life of privilege. Instead, he chose his own spotlight, building a career as both a singer and a model. And with looks this distinct, it wasn't long before the world noticed. His photos carry a magnetic quality, balancing strength with elegance. It's the kind of image you don't just scroll past, you stop, you stare, and you wonder. Of course, his appearance is only the surface of the story. Vera's real impact comes from the way he's embraced his difference. Instead of trying to hide his unique features, he turned them into a signature. In an industry filled with copy-paste beauty, Vera stands as proof that standing out is far more powerful than fitting in. His journey shows us something important. What might feel unusual or even isolating in everyday life can become the very thing that makes you unforgettable. Vera Ivanishvili doesn't just carry the look of a fantasy hero, he carries the courage to live as one in real life. Hannah Rose Dalton and Stephen Raj Bhaskaran. Most designers talk about breaking rules. Hannah Rose Dalton and Stephen Raj Bhaskaran don't just break them, they obliterate them. Known together as the creative duo Fecal Matter, they turn every sidewalk into a runway and every public appearance into performance art. Their transformation begins each morning in front of a mirror, not with a quick brush of mascara, but with a total reinvention. They shave their heads and eyebrows, layer on eerie contact lenses, and use avant-garde makeup techniques that make them look less human and more like futuristic beings. Add to that their infamous skin heels, shoes molded to look like extensions of the foot, and the result is something straight out of another world. But behind the shock value lies a powerful philosophy. Hannah and Stephen are not trying to look like aliens just for fun. They're making a statement, beauty standards are artificial, and identity is performance. By pushing their looks to extremes, they reveal how fragile the idea of normal really is. Their boldness has earned them a cult following in the fashion world. Some call them disturbing, others call them brilliant. Either way, no one forgets them. They've walked into rooms and onto runways where people didn't know whether to gasp or applaud, and that's exactly the reaction they want. For Hannah and Stephen, this isn't cosplay. It isn't just makeup, it's who they are. They remind us that self-expression has no limits, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is refuse to look like anyone else. Angelica Canova. Most kids grow up playing with dolls. Angelica Canova grew up becoming one. Born in Russia, she's now one of the most famous real-life Barbies in the world. With her porcelain skin, tiny waist, and doll-like proportions, 87 centimeter bust, 54 centimeter waist, 87 centimeters hips, she looks almost unreal. At 165 meters tall and weighing just 42 kilograms, her figure seems pulled straight out of a toy factory. But Angelica's story isn't just about appearance. It's about control. From the time she was 5, her parents noticed her resemblance to a doll and decided to shape her life around it. They hired nutritionists, fitness trainers, beauticians, and makeup artists to maintain her look. Unlike other kids, Angelica wasn't allowed to play outside freely, make friends, or even date. Instead, her childhood was filled with outfits, photo shoots, and carefully curated posts. Now, 28 years old, she still lives under her parents' watchful eyes. They continue to control her image, ensuring she remains the perfect doll they envisioned decades ago. It's a life that has brought her fame and hundreds of thousands of followers, but also one that raises questions: how much of her identity is truly her own? Angelica Canova is both fascinating and unsettling. She embodies the fantasy of a living Barbie, but also the reality of what happens when beauty becomes a family project instead of a personal choice. Behind the flawless face and tiny waist is a woman who, even today, is still searching for her own freedom. Sumo Mo Nang. Some models are remembered for their height, others for their eyes, but Sumo Mo Naing from Myanmar is remembered for something almost unbelievable: her waist. Measuring just 34.8 centimeters, it's so small that photos of her online sparked endless debates. Photoshop, corsets, surgery, none of the above, Sumo Mo Naing insists. According to her, her proportions are entirely natural, the result of genetics and a healthy lifestyle. Her look has made her both admired and doubted. Many people find her appearance fascinating, while others question how such a waistline could exist without tricks. But Sumo Mo Naing has remained firm. She says she's never worn waist trainers, undergone medical procedures, or forced her body into extremes. Instead, she attributes her shape to eating right, exercising lightly, and good family genes. What's perhaps more impressive than her figure is her confidence. Instead of shying away from the attention or the criticism, she's leaned into it. Photos of Sumo Mo Naing circulate widely on social media, drawing millions of views and sparking conversations about beauty standards, health, and individuality. Sumo Mo Naing may look like a character drawn from a fairy tale, but she's real. And in an industry where so many looks are manufactured or filtered, her presence feels almost surreal. Whether you believe her proportions are a miracle of genetics or not, one thing is certain: she's unforgettable. Ralph Souffrant. When you picture freckles, you probably imagine fair skin dotted with tiny sun-kissed spots. But Souffrant Ralph from Haiti breaks that mold completely. With his deep brown complexion covered in freckles from head to toe, he carries a look so rare that it turns heads wherever he goes. Growing up, though, it wasn't easy. Ralph often felt like an outsider. His freckles, instead of being celebrated, made him the subject of stares and questions. For years, he battled insecurity, unsure whether the world would ever accept the skin he was in. That all changed when fashion came calling. Handpicked by Kanye West's team from over 1,000 hopefuls, Ralph made his debut in Yeezy Season 3. Overnight, the boy who once wanted to disappear became a star standing proudly in the spotlight. His unique look landed him a 3-year modeling contract, and soon after he became the very first male face of Beyoncé's Ivy Park brand. Now Ralph celebrates his freckles as his signature, comparing them to snowflakes, each one different, each one beautiful. What once felt like a burden has become the very thing that sets him apart in an industry that thrives on individuality. Souffrant Ralph's journey is more than a modeling success story. It's a lesson in self-love. He proves that the features we're most insecure about can transform into our greatest strengths when we embrace them. Today, his freckles aren't just spots. They're symbols of resilience, uniqueness, and undeniable style. Rain Dove. Most models are discovered by agencies scouting for the perfect look. Rain Dove was discovered by accident, after losing a bet. She showed up topless to a Calvin Klein men's casting call, and instead of being turned away, she walked out with a contract. Why? Because Rain doesn't fit into one box. She smashes them all. Standing at 188 cm with a muscular build, Rain can easily walk in both men's and women's shows. Her androgynous appearance challenges the traditional definitions of beauty, giving her the power to move between worlds that fashion once kept separate. She's graced runways, magazine covers, and campaigns, not as a male model or a female model, but simply as Rain Dove. Before modeling, her life looked very different. She worked as a locksmith, a firefighter, and even construction jobs, fields that valued her strength and resilience. But in fashion, she found a new kind of strength, the ability to redefine what beauty can look like. Rain doesn't just model clothes, she models possibilities. She's been outspoken about gender identity, body image, and the importance of authenticity. Her social media presence is filled with bold photos, including a viral series where she recreated poses of Victoria's Secret models, only to swap their faces with hers in Photoshop, proving she could stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone in the industry. Rain Dove is more than a model. She's a movement, a living reminder that beauty isn't about gender, height, or shape. It's about confidence, courage, and the freedom to be unapologetically yourself. Sunina Limbu. Some models captivate with height, others with symmetry. Sunina captivates because she looks like she belongs to another world entirely. Born in Tibet, this petite model, just 152 centimeters tall, defied every rule of the fashion industry with her sharp, cat-like eyes and high, sculpted nose bridge. Her look is so otherworldly that fans nicknamed her the real-life Avatar, and casting directors couldn't look away. In a field dominated by towering figures, Sunina's presence seemed impossible. Yet her striking features proved that beauty isn't about fitting a mold. It's about breaking it. Her unique face became her ticket to London Fashion Week, where she walked alongside some of the biggest names in the industry. Despite being shorter than almost every mole on the runway, she commanded attention with every step. But Sunina's passions don't stop at modeling. She has often said that her true love is music, and that one day she'd rather pursue singing full-time than stay in front of the cameras. Modeling for her isn't just about fame. It's about proving that someone who looks different, who doesn't fit the checklist, can still shine on the biggest stages. Her story resonates because it challenges everything we think we know about beauty standards. Sunina shows us that limitations, whether it's height, background, or expectations, are only as real as we allow them to be. She may look like a character from a fantasy world, but her impact on fashion is very real. Lure Shu. Guess her age. 20? Maybe 30? Most people wouldn't come close. Lure Shu, a fashion influencer and interior designer from Taiwan, shocked the internet when she revealed she wasn't in her 20s at all. She was 45. Instantly, she became known as the eternal youth of Asia, a living reminder that age is not always what it seems. Her secret? Nothing too mysterious. Lure swears by simple habits, eating a balanced diet rich in vegetables, drinking plenty of water, and protecting her skin from the sun. She credits her youthful glow to hydration and healthy living, but also to genetics. Her family is just as ageless. Photos with her 63-year-old mother and 38-year-old sister went viral because, honestly, it's impossible to tell who's who. They all look like college students heading to a party. What makes Lure's story so fascinating is that she hasn't built her fame on surgeries or drastic makeovers. Instead, she embodies a lifestyle, a mix of wellness, positivity, and discipline. Her Instagram showcases her fashion sense, glowing complexion, and carefree attitude, proving that beauty doesn't expire with age. Lure Shu isn't just admired for looking young, she's admired for how she embraces life. She reminds us that age is just a number, and while we can't control genetics, we can control how we treat our bodies and minds. Ducky Thought. At first glance, you might think she's a mannequin. Perfectly sculpted, flawless, too striking to be real. But Ducky Thought, an Australian model of South Sudanese descent, is very real. With her jet black skin, sleek hair, and doll-like features, she's been called the Black Barbie, a nickname that once brought her criticism, but today stands as a badge of honor. Ducky's journey wasn't easy. As a child, she faced relentless bullying for her skin color, her hair, and her looks. She often felt out of place in Australia's modeling scene, where her beauty wasn't immediately recognized. For a while, she even considered giving up. But when she appeared on Australia's Next Top Model at just 17, everything began to change. A single viral photo of her left the internet in awe, and the nickname Doll began to spread worldwide. Still, fame came with challenges. Thousands of strangers criticized her appearance online, questioning if she was too different. Ducky disappeared from the public eye for 2 years, rebuilding her confidence. When she returned, it was on her own terms, moving to New York, where diversity in fashion was finally being celebrated. Today, Ducky Thought is one of the most in-demand models in the world. She's walked for major designers, fronted global campaigns, and turned her so-called flaws into fashion's most admired features. She's even hinted at creating her own doll line, a tribute to the little girl who once felt she didn't belong. Melvnin. Some people look like they were born to be on camera. Melvnin is one of them. With her dark skin, icy blue eyes, and shock of white hair, she looks less like an ordinary model and more like a character pulled from the pages of a comic book. Fans often say she could play Storm from X-Men without even stepping into the makeup chair. But Melvnin's rise wasn't just about looks, it was about confidence. In a world where people are quick to assume her appearance must be fake, she has consistently stood her ground. Some argue she dyes her hair or adjusts her skin tone. Her response? Calm, unapologetic denial. She insists that what people see is her. No tricks, no filters, just a striking blend of natural features that make her unforgettable. And the world has noticed. With over 400,000 followers on Instagram, Melvnin has become a social media star and a sought-after model. She's appeared in ad campaigns, particularly for hair care products, where her iconic look is not just admired but celebrated. What makes her story so compelling isn't simply that she's beautiful, it's that she refuses to let rumors define her. Instead of hiding or explaining herself away, Melvnin embraces her uniqueness as her brand. Her appearance isn't just eye-catching, it's empowering. Melvnin proves that beauty doesn't have to fit into neat boxes. Sometimes the most extraordinary faces are the ones that look like they were designed for a bigger story. Ia Ostergren. At first, her photos seem unbelievable, so unbelievable that many people thought they were edited, but they're not. Swedish model Ia Ostergren has legs that measure a jaw-dropping 108 centimeters, making them longer than twice the length of her torso. Standing 177 centimeters tall, her body looks unlike anyone else's, and that uniqueness has turned her into an international sensation. But Aya's journey wasn't always glamorous. Growing up, she struggled with bullying. Her unusual proportions made her feel awkward and out of place. People stared, whispered, and sometimes mocked her. For years, her legs were something she wanted to hide, not celebrate. Everything changed when she discovered fitness. Aya dedicated herself to bodybuilding, transforming her tall, slim frame into one that radiated strength and balance. What once felt too much became her greatest asset. With every workout, she built not only muscle but also confidence. Today, she has more than 230,000 Instagram followers who admire her for exactly what she used to hide. Her long legs are now the centerpiece of her modeling career, landing her features in magazines and even a role in the movie Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, alongside Angelina Jolie. Ia Ostergren proves that what sets you apart can be the very thing that sets you ahead. The feature that once made her a target now makes her unforgettable. She didn't change her body, she changed her perspective. And that made all the difference. What if your eyelashes could touch your cheeks, your nose could smell across city blocks, or your hair trailed behind you like a royal train? In a world of over 8 billion people, some bodies simply defy logic, growing longer, larger, or more extreme than science can explain. These aren't just records. They're real lives, lived on the edge of the extraordinary. Buckle up. You're about to meet 20 of the world's most unforgettable human wonders. Yu Jiangxia, the woman with eyelashes longer than your fingers. Imagine waking up one morning looking in the mirror and realizing your eyelash has grown past your cheekbone. No mascara, no falsies, just nature doing the unimaginable. Meet Yu Jiangxia, a woman from China whose upper eyelash now measures a mind-blowing 8 inches, 20.3 centimeters, longer than a spoon, longer than most people's fingers. In 2015, she first noticed one eyelash refusing to stop growing. Years later, it turned her into a walking world record. What's the reason? Doctors can't explain it. Her family has no similar traits. DNA testing offers no clues. Jiangxia believes her lash is a gift from the divine, something awakened during a 480-day spiritual retreat in the mountains. Instead of hiding or trimming it, she proudly flaunts it. Her lash doesn't interfere with daily life. In fact, she jokes it saves time on makeup. Who needs eyeliner when your eyelash casts its own shadow? It's not just a record. It's a mystery, a marvel, and a reminder that the human body still has secrets science can't quite touch. Pauline Potter, the woman with the world's largest waist. She didn't ask for fame, she asked for help, and the world listened. Pauline Potter, once crowned the world's heaviest woman, shocked the globe with her jaw-dropping measurements, a waistline over 102 inches, 2.6 meters. That's wider than a refrigerator, and nearly the length of a compact car. At her peak weight of 643 pounds, 292 kilos, everyday tasks became survival challenges. She couldn't fit into her car. Bathing required assistance. Moving from room to room demanded a motorized wheelchair. But what makes Pauline's story remarkable isn't just her size, it's her fight. Rather than hide, Pauline went public, contacting Guinness World Records, not to chase headlines, but to call for medical intervention. Her weight, rooted in childhood trauma and emotional eating, had spiraled out of control. She turned her record into a rallying cry for support. Her honesty caught attention and hearts. She showed that behind extreme size is a human story, one of pain, courage, and the relentless will to change. Pauline didn't want to be remembered for her measurements. She wanted to be remembered for trying. And in that, she became larger than life, in the most powerful way. Rumeysa Gelgi, the tallest woman on Earth. Imagine looking someone in the eye and realizing your face barely reaches their waist. That's the daily reality when you meet Rumeysa Gelgi, the towering woman from Turkey who stands at a breathtaking 7 feet, 0.7 inches, 2.15 meters. But height is only the beginning. Rumeysa holds multiple Guinness World Records, not just for being the tallest living woman, but also for having the longest fingers, largest hands, and the longest back. Her body, shaped by an ultra-rare genetic condition called Weaver syndrome, is a biological wonder. Only around 50 people in the world are known to have it, and she may be its most iconic face. Simple things, finding clothes, fitting into a car, even sitting in a chair, become daily puzzles. She wears dresses as shirts. Her furniture is custom-built. Air travel? Turkish Airlines had to convert 6 seats into a stretcher just to get her on board. But don't mistake her for a victim. Rumeysa is a software developer, a public speaker, and an advocate for rare disease awareness. She's turned her towering frame into a powerful platform, standing tall not just in size, but in spirit. Annie Hawkins Turner, the woman with the world's largest natural breasts. When Annie Hawkins Turner walks into a room, jaws drop. Not because of what she's wearing, but because of what she was born with. Known to the world as Norma Stitz, Annie holds the Guinness World Record for the largest natural breasts. Each one weighs over 30 pounds, 13.6 kilos, together more than the average 4-year-old child. Her condition, called gigantomastia, causes excessive and unstoppable breast growth. Doctors urged her to consider surgery. Friends warned her. Even strangers offered opinions. But Annie refused to shrink for anyone. "I am who I am," she says, "and I love every inch of me." Her journey hasn't been easy. Growing up, she was teased relentlessly. Finding clothes, a nightmare, dating, even harder. But through it all, she held her head and chest high. Now in her 60s, Annie embraces her unique form. She's turned her body into a symbol of confidence and empowerment, using her platform to speak out on self-love and body acceptance. Mehmet Özyürek, the man with the world's longest nose. What if your nose entered the room before you did? That's life for Mehmet Özyürek, the man from Artvin, Turkey, who holds the Guinness World Record for the longest nose on a living person. A staggering 3.46 inches, 8.8 centimeters long. His nose is longer than a playing card, longer than most people's palms, and definitely longer than Mehmet ever expected. As a child, he was teased, mocked, and made to feel like a sideshow. Classmates called him names. Some even avoided him altogether. For years, he hated the very feature that would one day make him famous. But time has a way of reshaping perspective, and so does the world stage. In 2010, his nose was officially measured on an Italian TV show. The title was later reconfirmed in 2020 and again in 2021, making his record undeniable. But fame wasn't what changed Mehmet. Acceptance did. He now views his unique nose as a blessing. He believes it's a gift from God, and maybe it is. He even claims to have an extraordinary sense of smell, able to detect bakery scents from blocks away. He's turned what once felt like a curse into his crown. Karen tribe, the Padang women, the longest necks on earth. They don't just wear jewelry, they become it. Deep in the hills of northern Thailand and eastern Myanmar live the Padang women, also known as the long neck women, famous for their surreal giraffe-like necks that stretch up to 16 inches, 40.6 centimeters long. But here's the twist. These elongated necks aren't natural. They're crafted, one brass ring at a time. Starting as young as age 5, each girl wears a 4.5-pound, 2 kilos, metal coil around her neck. Over time, more rings are added, not stretching the neck, but pushing down the collarbone and compressing the rib cage. The illusion is both mesmerizing and haunting. Why do they do it? No one knows for sure. Some say it was to protect from tiger bites. Others believe it deterred slave traders. But within their culture, it's a symbol of beauty, grace, and identity, a rite of passage passed down through generations. To outsiders, it may seem painful or extreme, but to the Padang women, their rings are a badge of pride, a golden link to heritage in a fast-changing world. Byron and Emily Schlinker, the father-daughter duo with the widest tongues in the world. It started with a school project. It ended with a world record. Meet Byron Schlinker, a dad from Syracuse, New York, and his daughter Emily, the Guinness World Record holders for the widest tongues on the planet. Byron's tongue measures a jaw dropping 3.4 inches, 8.6 centimeters, wider than a soda can. Emily isn't far behind, with a 2.9-inch, 7.3 centimeter tongue, earning her the title for widest female tongue. Their claim to fame began as a joke. While helping Emily measure body parts for a class assignment, Byron decided to check his tongue and discovered it shattered the existing record. Emily, curious, measured hers too. Turns out record-breaking runs in the family. Now they're internet sensations. Their wide tongues have gone viral on social media, inspiring everything from memes to mock challenges. But for the Schlinkers, it's all about embracing uniqueness and having fun with it. Friends joke that Byron could shovel peanut butter with his tongue. Emily laughs it off, proud of the trait that made her stand out. Even mom Vicky joins in, calling it the weirdest blessing ever. In a world obsessed with fitting in, the Schlinkers teach us something refreshingly simple. Sometimes, the quirkiest part of you is the part worth celebrating. Andrea Ivanova, the woman who turned her lips into a lifestyle. Meet Andrea Ivanova, a 24-year-old from Bulgaria who's made headlines and turned heads for having what she claims are the largest lips in the world. Plump, bold, and unapologetically dramatic, her lips are the result of more than $10,000 worth of lip fillers, with over 26 injections, and counting. Her look? Think Bratz doll come to life. Her mission? Be unforgettable. Each filler session costs around $250, and she's not stopping anytime soon. Why would I? She shrugs. This is who I want to be. While critics warn of bursting lips or permanent damage, Andrea sees only beauty, her version of it, but it doesn't end with lips. Andrea has also invested in cheek fillers, a sharp chin contour, and even dreams of a facelift. To her, her face is a canvas, and she's the artist painting outside the lines of conventional beauty. Haters flood her inbox, doctors raise eyebrows, but Andrea, she walks with confidence, a pout that could stop traffic, and a message that's loud and clear. You don't have to play by anyone's rules but your own. She isn't just breaking beauty standards, she's rewriting them, one injection at a time. Sain Mumtaz, the man with a head that defies science. In a quiet village, 100 kilometers from Lahore, lives Sain Mumtaz, a man whose head is so unusually large, it has puzzled doctors, mystics, and even geneticists. From childhood, his condition drew stares and silence. His neighbors whispered about curses. His family feared the worst. Initially believed to have Proteus syndrome, the same disorder thought to affect the elephant man, Sane's deformity is different. Unlike typical cases with asymmetry, his head grew perfectly symmetrical, defying every known pattern. Now 25, Sane moves through life carefully, carrying the weight of a body that doesn't quite fit the world around him. He dreams of starting a rickshaw business. He doesn't dream of marriage. "This is my burden from God," he says quietly. Not everyone is meant to be understood, but someone is listening. Dr. Edwin Kirk, a world-renowned geneticist from Australia, heard of Sane's case and was instantly intrigued. Alongside pediatric specialist Dr. Glenn Marshall, he's preparing to fly to Pakistan, hoping to finally diagnose the man science forgot. Sane Mumtaz may live in the shadows of misunderstanding, but with new eyes watching and new hope rising, his story might just become a turning point in medical history. What if the world's rarest condition was hidden in plain sight? Untold, the baby with the world's largest head. At just 7 months old, Untold carried a head nearly the size of a watermelon. Not metaphorically, but medically. Born in India with hydrocephalus, a rare condition where fluid floods the brain, his head reached a record-breaking 38 inches, 96.5 centimeters in circumference. His tiny body, fragile and struggling, barely seemed strong enough to hold it up. The pressure was immense, both physically and emotionally. Locals whispered cruel nicknames. Some even called him Ghost Baby. But behind those haunting headlines was a family desperate for hope. And then, a miracle in medicine. Surgeons at AIM's hospital in Bhubaneswar stepped in. Over 6 grueling weeks, they drained over 3.7 liters of fluid and implanted a shunt to control the buildup. Slowly, Mit's head size shrank to 27 inches. More importantly, his brain began to heal. For his parents, Kamalesh and Kavita, the transformation wasn't just physical. It was a second chance at life for their son. A chance to walk down the street without stairs, to dream of a future without fear. Untold may have once held the record for the largest infant head, but now he holds something far greater, the chance to grow, to learn, and to live like any other child. Sultan Kösen, the tallest man alive. Standing at 8 feet 2.8 inches, 2.51 meters, Sultan Kösen doesn't just stand out. He towers above humanity. Born in Turkey, Sultan holds the Guinness World Record for the tallest living man. But his height wasn't a blessing. It was the result of a pituitary tumor that triggered uncontrollable growth. As his body stretched beyond imagination, everyday life became a series of struggles. Clothes didn't fit, doors became obstacles, and shoes had to be custom-made. But the hardest part wasn't physical. It was emotional. Labeled a giant and mocked by strangers, Sultan battled loneliness and isolation. Yet through pain, he found purpose. After surgery to halt his growth, Sultan transformed his story into a message of hope and awareness, advocating for pituitary health worldwide. He now travels, speaks, and inspires, proving that towering challenges can be met with towering strength. He may be the tallest man in the world, but his spirit, even taller. Diana Armstrong, the mother who let her nails grow for love. For Diana Armstrong, every inch of her nails tells a story of grief, of love, and of an unbreakable bond. The 64-year-old from Minnesota holds the Guinness World Record for the longest fingernails on a woman's hand. With a staggering combined length of 42 feet, 10.4 inches, 13 meters. That's longer than a city bus, but Diana's nails aren't about attention, they're a memorial. In 1997, her daughter Letitia tragically passed away from an asthma attack. Letitia was the last person to paint Diana's nails. After her death, Diana made a silent promise. She would never cut them again. For over 2 decades, she's kept that vow. Her grandchildren now help her paint them, a process that takes over 10 hours and more than 20 bottles of polish. She can't drive or do everyday tasks easily, but she says the struggle is worth it. Because for Diana, her nails aren't just part of her, they're part of her daughter, and some promises are too sacred to break. Gary Turner, the man with skin that stretches like rubber. If Gary Turner pinches the skin on his stomach, he can pull it over his face without feeling a thing. Born with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, a rare connective tissue disorder, Gary holds the Guinness World Record for the most elastic skin in the world. His skin stretches like rubber, defying logic and biology. But for Gary, this strange superpower came with a price. As a child, he was bullied, stared at, and treated like a freak. Yet instead of hiding, he leaned into the spotlight, turning a condition into a career. Today, Gary performs on global stages, amazing crowds with his seemingly superhuman flexibility. But behind the stretch is a message: embrace your difference. His condition causes joint pain, fragile skin, and serious health risks. But Gary's focus remains on inspiring others. He doesn't just pull skin, he pulls people out of shame and into self-acceptance. In a world obsessed with perfection, Gary proves that what makes you weird might just make you wonderful. Francisco Domingo Joaquin, the man with a mouth that can swallow a soda can. They call him Chino, but the world knows him as the man with the widest mouth on earth. Born in Angola, Francisco Domingo Joaquim holds the Guinness World Record for the widest mouth gape, a staggering 6.69 inches, 17 centimeters across. That's wide enough to fit an entire soda can sideways. And he does, effortlessly. As a child, he entertained friends by stuffing fruits, coins, even whole snacks into his jaw. But what started as playground fun turned into a global phenomenon. In 2010, Chino stunned audiences on an Italian TV show, sealing his place in the record books. But this isn't just a party trick. It's a passport. Chino has performed around the world, turning his jaw-dropping gift into a career. Still, behind the grin is a man with dreams beyond the stage. Chino hopes to return to school, proving that even the most unbelievable talents don't define your future. You do. Kalakaiwi, the man with ears. Big enough to fit your hand through. Kalakaiwi doesn't just walk into a room, he shocks it. Hailing from Hawaii, Kalak holds the Guinness World Record for the largest non-surgically stretched earlobes, each reaching an eye widening 4.3 inches, 10.9 centimeters in diameter. That's big enough to pass a full adult hand through. But his ears are just the beginning. Kalak is a living canvas of extreme body modification. His look includes silicone horns, a split tongue, tattooed eyeballs, facial piercings, and subdermal implants that form spikes across his forehead. His appearance isn't accidental, it's intentional art. Why? Because for Kalak, his body is a tribute to ancient traditions, to radical self-expression, and to pushing the limits of identity. Some admire him, others fear him, but everyone remembers him. In 2022, he traveled to Milan to receive his world record title, turning heads at airport security and challenging every norm society holds about beauty, control, and what it means to own your image. Kalak doesn't modify his body to stand out. He does it to belong to himself, completely. Rolf Buchholz, the most pierced man on the planet. If body modification is an art, Rolf Buchholz is a masterpiece, bold, unfiltered, and unforgettable. The German-born IT worker holds the Guinness World Record for the most piercings on a living man, with over 450 adorning his body, including over 150 on his face alone. And that's just the beginning. Rolf's look includes horn-like implants, a split tongue, tattooed eyeballs, and nearly full-body ink. Every detail is deliberate, every piercing a statement. But his extreme appearance hasn't come without judgment. In 2014, Rolf was denied entry into Dubai, simply for how he looked. Strangers often stare. Some are fascinated, others afraid. Still, Rolf doesn't flinch. To him, his body is not rebellion, it's freedom, a living testament to the idea that beauty isn't found in symmetry but in authenticity. That the skin you're in should be yours to shape. He doesn't want to blend in. He wants to be exactly who he is, and he's pierced through every limit to do it. Asha Mandela, the woman with hair like a sacred river. To Asha Mandela, her hair isn't just long, it's legendary. Measuring a staggering 19 feet, 6.5 inches, 5.96 meters, Asha holds the Guinness World Record for the longest dreadlocks in the world. Her hair is so long she has to carry it in a sling or cradle it like a child just to move through her day. But this isn't about fashion. It's about faith. After surviving a near-death illness, Asha began growing her locks as part of a spiritual awakening. She calls them her cobra and treats them like a living extension of her soul. Washing takes hours, drying takes days. Yet she wouldn't trade a single strand. People warned her. Doctors cautioned her spine couldn't take the weight. But for Asha, every inch represents healing, strength, and the unbreakable memory of a life reclaimed. Her message? Nurture what makes you different, and wear it with pride. Jyoti Amge, the smallest woman with the biggest spirit. Standing just 2 feet 0.6 inches, 62.8 centimeters tall, Jyoti Amge holds the Guinness World Record as the shortest living woman on Earth. But don't let her size fool you. Her presence is larger than life. Born in India with a rare condition called primordial dwarfism, Jyoti faced ridicule, rejection, and relentless stares. In a world built for the average, even basic tasks, clothes, utensils, chairs, had to be custom-made. But Jyoti never let the world shrink her spirit. Instead, she rose. She became a global icon, starred in American Horror Story, and used her voice to challenge beauty standards and stereotypes around disability. With poise, humor, and strength, she shows the world that greatness isn't measured in inches. She's not just small, she's unstoppable. Mohammed and Huda Shahada, the siblings with superhuman wingspans. In Egypt, two siblings are rewriting the definition of reaching greatness. Mohammed Shahada, 34, and his sister Huda, 29, hold a combined 5 Guinness World Records, thanks to their extraordinary limbs. Mohammed's arm span stretches a mind-blowing 8 feet 2.5 inches, 2.5 meters. Huda's? Nearly 7 feet 8.4 inches, 2.3 meters, wider than most adults are tall. But the records don't stop there. Muhammad has the widest hand in the world. Huda holds the record for the largest hands and feet for a woman. These astonishing proportions are the result of gigantism, a rare condition caused by benign tumors in the pituitary gland. Their bodies have made everyday life challenging. Walking, bending, even finding shoes is a task. But together, they've turned their unique biology into a story of strength, pride, and family unity. Kim Goodman, the woman who pops her eyes out on command. Some people raise eyebrows. Kim Goodman raises eyeballs, literally. This woman from Chicago holds the Guinness World Record for the farthest eyeball protrusion in the world. Her eyes can pop out 0.47 inches, 1.2 centimeters, beyond their sockets, A sight so shocking, it's left live audiences gasping and TV hosts speechless. Her bizarre talent was discovered by accident. After being struck in the head by a hockey mask, Kim noticed her eyes could suddenly bulge far beyond normal. Most would panic. Kim turned it into a superpower. Now she performs globally, can control the protrusion at will, and even has her own fan base. Medical experts call the condition proptosis, but no one can explain how she does it without pain. Kim Goodman doesn't blink at being different. She stares down normal and dares you to look away. Victoria Wright, the woman with a jaw that changed her life, not her spirit. When Victoria Wright smiles, the world sees something different. A jaw so enlarged, it once weighed as much as a bowling ball. She was born with cherubism, a rare genetic disorder that causes excessive bone growth in the lower face. It began subtly. At age 4, her mother noticed something unusual while brushing her teeth. Doctors said it would improve after puberty. It didn't. Instead, her face grew more pronounced, and so did the stares. Victoria endured bullying, isolation, and the pressure to hide, but she didn't. Instead, she chose to speak out, becoming an advocate for people with facial differences. Her jaw may have drawn attention, but her courage earned respect. Despite surgeries to preserve her vision and ease pain, Victoria still lives with discomfort. But she lives out loud, pushing back against society's narrow ideals and proving that beauty begins with acceptance and a voice strong enough to change how we see others. Benny Harlem, the man who turned his hair into a crown. When Benny Harlem walks into a room, all eyes go up, way up. This Los Angeles-based model and singer holds the Guinness World Record for the tallest high-top fade, an astonishing 20.5 inches, 52 centimeters, of gravity-defying hair that seems to stretch into the clouds. But Benny's hair is more than a statement, it's a symbol. Inspired by African pride and natural beauty, Benny treats his hair like a living sculpture. It takes up to 2 hours a day to groom, using only natural, homemade products. To him, it's not just about style. It's about identity, culture, and self-love. He rose to fame with a viral photo alongside his daughter, Jackson, both of them rocking stunning sky-high hair. Their bond and their roots became an internet sensation, showing that legacy isn't just passed down by words but by presence. In a world quick to flatten uniqueness, Benny stands tall, quite literally, and reminds us all to rise with pride. Rick Genest, the man who turned his body into a skeleton and his pain into power. Rick Genest, known worldwide as Zombie Boy, didn't just wear tattoos, he became them. The Canadian artist was famous for his haunting appearance, over 90% of his body tattooed, including a full skeletal design across his face and torso. He had bones inked where skin should be, flies on his scalp, a skull where a smile once lived. Struggling with depression and identity, he used his body as a canvas to reclaim what the world tried to erase. His look caught the eye of fashion designer Thierry Mugler, and later, Lady Gaga, who featured him in her Born This Way music video. But behind the global fame was a man fighting inner battles. Rick used his platform to speak openly about mental health, becoming a symbol for those who felt invisible, misunderstood, or too different to be accepted. Tragically, Rick passed away in 2018, but his legacy remains, etched in ink, in art, and in the hearts of everyone who's ever felt like they didn't belong.
What if your reflection in the mirror no longer looked human? From split tongues to full-face tattoos and surgical horns, some people are pushing the limits of identity and reality to become something not of this world. Are they escaping evolving or simply expressing what's been buried inside all along? Buckle up. These transformations are not for the faint of heart. Anthony Lafredo, the man who became an alien. Imagine waking up one day and deciding the human body just wasn't for you. Not the skin, not the nose, not even the shape of your skull. That's exactly what happened to Anthony Lafredo, a former security guard from France who didn't just dream of becoming someone else, he dreamed of becoming something else entirely. At 26, while many of us were stressing over jobs and relationships, Anthony was making headlines. He split his tongue, tattooed his face and eyes, and began a full-body transformation that would earn him the nickname the Black Alien. Eye tattoos alone are terrifying. They involve injecting ink directly between layers of the eyeball, a move so risky it could cause blindness in an instant. But that didn't stop Anthony. He dove deeper. By 2021, he had amputated his nose, both ears, and even his upper lip. If that sounds painful, that's because it was. These surgeries removed massive amounts of cartilage and tissue, no anesthesia, no turning back. But it didn't end there. Anthony amputated 2 fingers from his left hand to create alien-like claws. He inserted dozens of silicone implants under his skin to reshape his skull and arms. In 2023, he announced plans to amputate a leg and replace it with a bionic limb. As of 2025, that hasn't happened yet. Still, he claims he's only 60% complete. Let that sink in. Extreme body mods like these are illegal in much of France unless done by licensed surgeons, and most won't touch procedures this extreme. So Anthony traveled to Mexico, where his longtime collaborator, body mod artist Gato Moreno, performs the surgeries. Today, Anthony has over 1 million followers on Instagram, but he also faces discrimination. He's been denied jobs, refused entry into restaurants, and judged relentlessly. Yet for Anthony, it's never been about fitting in. He says he felt more like an alien in his normal body. Now, he feels like himself. Hannah Rose, Dalton and Stephen Raj Bhaskaran, the alien fashion duo. What happens when fashion meets the final frontier? Enter Hannah Rose, Dalton and Stephen Raj Bhaskaran, the minds behind Freckle Martyr, a name as strange as their style. Think shaved heads, monstrous prosthetics, and shoes that look more like alien feet than footwear. If aliens had a runway on Mars, these two would be headlining it. Unlike others who've gone under the knife, Hannah and Stephen don't modify their bodies permanently. Instead, they create the illusion of otherworldly beings through makeup, prosthetics, and jaw-dropping costumes. Every detail is crafted by hand, from skull implants to terrifying foot extensions. It's cosplay turned couture. The two met in 2016 at a fashion school in Montreal and instantly connected over their love for the bizarre. What started as a student project evolved into a movement. Through Freckle Martyr, they transformed themselves into walking, breathing art pieces, creatures from a universe no one else can see. They describe their work as a way to express their true selves, shedding societal norms to embrace a kind of visual freedom few dare to explore. Their Instagram account exploded with followers now numbering over 700,000, and they've since launched a fashion line, dropped music, and collaborated with avant-garde designers like Rick Owens. You might find their looks terrifying, but their rise is nothing short of inspiring. What's truly haunting isn't their alien-like appearance. It's the message underneath that identity isn't fixed, and sometimes becoming you means becoming something entirely new. For Hannah and Stephen, it's not about shock. It's about truth expression and turning the strange into something beautiful. Michelle Ferro-Prado, the human Satan and his demon bride. You've heard of the devil in disguise, but what if the devil showed up with metal horns, tattooed eyeballs, and a forked tongue? Meet Michelle Ferro-Prado, a Brazilian tattoo artist who spent over 25 years turning himself into something straight out of your worst nightmare or your favorite horror movie. They call him the human Satan, and one look explains why. More than 80% of his body is covered in ink, including his eyeballs. He's removed his nose and ears, split his tongue down the middle, and filed his teeth into sharp fangs. But the showstopper, he implanted 33 metal horns into his skull, adjustable spikes that earned him a Guinness World Record in 23 for the most cranial implants ever recorded. And just when you think he can't go further, he does. He's had silver vampire fangs installed costing nearly $1,000. He's even sewn his fingers together to form alien-like claws inspired by his idol, the Black Alien. Yes, he actually has a tattoo of Anthony Lafredo on his leg, but Michel doesn't walk this path alone. His wife Carol, known online as Mujer Demonia, the demon woman, is just as transformed. She sports tattooed eyeballs, a forked tongue, and her own set of under-the-skin horns. Together, they look like a couple conjured from the depths of a heavy metal album cover. Yet beneath the ink and implants lies something surprisingly soft: love, artistry, and identity. Michel and Carol don't modify to scare, they do it to express who they truly are. They've turned their bodies into living sculptures, pushing the edge of what's humanly possible. So the next time you see horns on someone's head, maybe ask yourself, is this a monster or a masterpiece? Eric Sprague, the Lizard Man. How far would you go to explore what it means to be human? For Eric Sprague, the answer was simple: become a lizard. Known worldwide as the Lizard Man, Eric has spent over 2 decades transforming himself into a green-scaled, fork-tongued reptilian marvel. But Eric didn't start out in sideshows or freak conventions. He was a philosophy student in New York. His journey began not with rebellion, but with questions. Big ones. Like, what defines identity, and can the body become art? Instead of writing a thesis, Eric turned himself into the subject. Since 1994, he's undergone over 700 hours of tattooing, covering his entire body in vivid green scales. In 1997, he split his tongue, becoming one of the first people in the world to undergo the procedure. Then came the teeth filing, giving him a jagged lizard-like grin, and subdermal implants in his brow, ridge made of Teflon. Yes, the same stuff used in cookware. None of this was done with anesthesia. Every change was deliberate, painful, and permanent. But Eric isn't just body art. He's a full-blown performer. He swallows swords, breathes fire, and drives giant hooks through his skin. He even holds a Guinness World Record for lifting the heaviest weight using only his earlobes, a full keg of beer. Despite his monstrous look, Eric has a calm, intelligent presence that catches people off guard. He's not trying to be scary. He's not trying to be famous. He's just living his truth, one green scale at a time. Some people collect reptiles. Eric became one. Dennis Avner, the Stalking Cat. Some people chase their dreams. Others become them. For Dennis Avner, also known as Stalking Cat, that dream was to walk the world as a tiger, not in costume, but in flesh. Dennis's transformation began with a prophecy. As a young man growing up in a Native American community, he was told by a spiritual leader to follow the ways of the tiger. Most would take that metaphorically. Dennis didn't. Instead, he took it literally, devoting his life and his body to becoming as feline as humanly possible. By the age of 22, Dennis had already started his transformation. He tattooed his face with tiger stripes, sharpened his teeth into fangs, flattened his nose, and even split his upper lip to create a feline-style cleft. He added 18 piercings around his mouth to anchor synthetic whiskers each morning, like a daily ritual of rebirth. But Dennis didn't stop there. He underwent surgical procedures to reshape his ears into points and had silicone implants to enhance the contours of his face. These weren't performed in luxury clinics. Most were done by Steve Hayworth, a body modification pioneer, but not a licensed doctor. That meant no anesthesia, only raw pain and pure commitment. Outside of his transformation, Dennis worked as a computer technician and part-time caregiver, but in his free time, he climbed trees, practiced feline movement, and even ate raw meat, fully immersing himself in his tiger identity. Though his appearance drew controversy, curiosity, and sometimes ridicule, Dennis found peace in living as his authentic self. He became a fixture in the body mod community, attending conventions and connecting with others who felt different in their own skin. Sadly, Dennis passed away in 2012 at the age of 54. His life, though short by human standards, far outlasted that of most house cats. And in many ways, he lived more fiercely than most people ever dare to. Who on my list are you most impressed with? And if you could transform, would you dare to transform yourself into an alien? Comment 1 if you would, and 3 if you wouldn't. Maria Jose Cristerna, the Vampire Woman. She was once a lawyer, Now, she's one of the most recognizable faces in the world of extreme body modification. Meet Maria Jose Cristerna, a mother of 4 tattoo artist and former attorney who transformed herself into what many call the vampire woman, but to her, it's much more than that. Maria's journey began not in rebellion, but in survival. After escaping an abusive marriage, she chose to mark her strength permanently, starting with titanium horns implanted in her forehead. For Maria, each horn represented power, resistance, and rebirth. What started as personal symbolism quickly grew into a full-body transformation. Today, 96% of her body is covered in tattoos, and she's undergone 49 distinct modifications, including fang implants, eye tattoos, and ear reshaping. Her piercing gaze and dramatic aesthetic earned her the Guinness World Record as the most modified woman in the world from 2012 to 2023. But Maria is more than her appearance. She uses her platform to advocate for women sharing her story in conferences, schools, and support groups. She runs a tattoo studio, designs her own fashion line, and raises 4 children, all while wearing fangs. Despite the haunting nickname, Maria doesn't drink blood or sleep in coffins. Her vampire identity is symbolic, representing transformation, mystery, and survival after darkness. To her, tattoos and implants are not just art, they are armor. And yes, her striking look has earned her a wax figure in Ripley's Believe It or Not. But the real Maria is far more interesting than any museum display. She didn't just modify her body, she reclaimed it. From courtroom heels to titanium horns, Maria Jose Cristerna is living proof that you can rewrite your story one fang at a time. Tiamat Legion Medusa, becoming the dragon. If dragons were real, they might look something like Tiamat Legion Medusa. But this mythical creature wasn't born in fire. It was forged through pain, loss, and radical transformation. Tiamat, formerly Richard Hernandez, is a trans-species artist who's turned their body into a living tribute to reptiles. Half human, half dragon, all intention. The journey began in the late 1990s after Tiamat tested positive for HIV. Faced with mortality, they made a decision few would dare to imagine: they would not die as a human. If life had to end, it would end as something else, something bold, primal, and powerful. Thus began a metamorphosis unlike any other. Over the past 2 decades, Tiamat has undergone dozens of body modifications: ears removed, nose reshaped, tongue split, and their skin tattooed with green and black scales from head to toe. Their goal: to fully embody the reptilian spirit that they say lives within them, a vision sparked by a dream in which they were bitten by snakes and awoke believing they had been spiritually transformed. But this transformation wasn't cheap or painless. Tiamat has spent over $3,500 on surgeries alone and endured countless hours under the tattoo needle. They even cut the sides of their nose to mimic how snakes smell the world. Every detail, from the bifurcated tongue to the horned brow, is part of a carefully built identity. And despite the world's reactions ranging from admiration to fear, Tiamat remains fiercely proud of who they've become. For them, this isn't just art or shock value. It's survival. It's truth. It's shedding old skin to reveal what was always hiding underneath. Not everyone dreams of becoming a dragon, but for Tiamat, the transformation wasn't fantasy. It was destiny. Esperance Luminesca Fuerzina, the most tattooed woman on Earth. When the vampire woman lost her world record in 2023, the crown didn't go far. It landed squarely on the head of Esperance Luminesca Fuerzina, a military veteran turned walking piece of alien art. With 89 body modifications and 99% of her body tattooed, Esperance is more than just inked. She's almost unrecognizable as human. Her transformation didn't begin with tattoos, but with suspension, a ritual that involves piercing the skin with hooks and being lifted into the air. While many shy away from the idea, Esperance embraced it as a spiritual release. From that moment on, she knew her body was her canvas, and pain was just part of the process. By 2014, she committed fully to body modification. Since then, she's tattooed not only her arms, legs, and torso, but also her scalp, palms, eyelids, tongue gums, and even her eyeballs. Her look is so opaque and intricate, she appears more xenomorph than human, a living sci-fi sculpture. But tattoos are just the beginning. Esperance also has dozens of piercings, a split tongue, and 15 subdermal implants, including large bony ridges on her forehead and serpent-shaped implants along her arms. Her goal: to transform darkness into beauty using her body as a symbol of personal evolution. What sets Esperance apart isn't just how she looks, it's how she moves through the world. She wears her modifications like battle armor, a quiet rebellion against conformity. To her, every needle, every cut, every implant is a choice, a way to tell her story without speaking a word. And while some may stare in shock, Esperance simply smiles, because to her, this isn't weird, it's real. Rolf Buchholz, the man with 516 modifications. If there's one man who's turned body modification into a lifelong mission, it's Rolf Buchholz. Holding the Guinness World Record for the most body modifications on a male, Rolf has racked up a jaw-dropping 516 individual mods and counting. But here's the kicker: he didn't even start until the age of 40. That's right, while most people are just getting their first tattoo or midlife motorcycle, Rolf was getting pierced everywhere. Today, over 90% of his body is covered in tattoos, including both eyeballs, which are now completely black. Out of his 516 modifications, 481 are piercings, with more than half located well south of the equator. And if you think his face has any room left, think again. He has 158 piercings on his face alone, stretching across his eyebrows, lips, cheeks, and tongue, to the point where he physically can't close his mouth fully anymore. But that's not all. Rolf has also undergone 35 subdermal implants, including silicone spheres in his arms and horn-like shapes on his head, making him look like something conjured from another dimension or a particularly intense metal album cover. What drives a man to go this far? According to Rolf, it's simple: he just enjoys it. There was no plan to break records. He only realized his body was a Guinness contender after meeting other record holders and realizing he had surpassed them. Despite his extreme appearance, Rolf is soft-spoken and surprisingly low-key. But his look has sparked international fascination, landing him in magazines, TV shows, and even turning him into a frequent guest at tattoo conventions across the globe. If aliens ever came to Earth looking for one of their own, they might take one look at Rolf and say, "He's with us." Luis Padrón, the alien elf from the stars. He claims he's from the Pleiades star cluster, and while that might raise eyebrows, one glance at Luis Padrón and you'll start to believe he might be telling the truth. Known online as the Alien Elf, Luis is a real-life fantasy come to life. Born in Argentina, he grew up obsessed with elves, angels, and all things otherworldly. As a child, fantasy wasn't just an escape, it was survival. After enduring relentless bullying, Luis turned to magic myths and makeup. Then he made it real. Since then, Luis has spent over $80,000 on cosmetic surgeries to transform into an interdimensional elf. His procedures include ear reshaping to create pointed tips, jaw and nose surgeries for a more ethereal look, and the most extreme of all, eye color change surgery. He used a laser to burn away the melanin in his irises, changing his natural brown eyes to bright blue. The process, no anesthesia. The result, 30 days of searing pain and temporary blindness every time he looked at light. But Luis wasn't deterred. In fact, he's planning even more facial lifting muscle implants and even removal of a rib to slim his waist. His transformation is far from over. Like many others on this list, he sees his body as an evolving canvas. Luis doesn't just dress like an elf, he believes in what he's becoming. His social media presence is filled with flowing silver hair, holographic contact lenses, and androgynous outfits that blur the lines between gender fantasy and reality. He says he feels more like himself now than ever before. To some, it's strange. To others, inspiring. But to Luis Padrón, it's simple: becoming an alien elf isn't cosplay. It's coming home. Raiden dos Caras, the Two-Faced Skull Dad. You might expect to find him in a horror movie or leading a metal band, but Raiden, also known as Cráneo dos Caras, Two-Faced Skull, is more likely to be grilling in the backyard with his wife and daughter. Yes, beneath the horns and tattoos lies a family man with a heart as big as his ink collection. Raiden's transformation began at just 12 years old with his first tattoo. By 17, he was stretching his earlobes with skin tunnels. Fast forward to today, and 86% of his body is tattooed, including his eyeballs. Yes, completely black and sclera. But it's not just ink. Raiden has undergone extreme procedures to reshape his face, including shaving down his nose, amputating parts of his ears, and adding subdermal implants to create pronounced devilish horns on his forehead. The result, a face that stops people in their tracks and a personality that surprises them even more. Unlike what his appearance might suggest, Raiden doesn't chase shock value. His reason is deeply personal self-expression. In a world that often judges by surface, Raiden flipped the script, turning his body into a canvas of conviction and identity. He's now a well-known tattoo artist in Colombia, admired for both his skill and his courage to live authentically. And while strangers may cross the street when they see him coming, those who know him describe a man who volunteers with animals, loves reading, and enjoys peaceful weekends at the park. His daughter, she sees a hero, not a monster. Raiden proves that appearances can be deceiving, and sometimes the scariest-looking people are the kindest souls of all. Henry Rodriguez, becoming the Red Skull. Forget Captain America. Henry Rodriguez wanted to be the villain, not just wear the costume, but become Red Skull, the infamous Marvel supervillain with a crimson face and terrifying presence. And he didn't stop at face paint. Henry, a tattoo artist from Venezuela, has spent over $32,000 and 130 hours of surgery to mirror the look of his comic book anti-hero. His face is tattooed a deep red, his eyes inked jet black, and his ears and nose surgically removed to recreate Red Skull's signature skeletal silhouette. But that was just the beginning. To achieve the menacing shape of the character's head, Henry had subdermal implants embedded beneath his skin, adding texture and definition. The procedures were carried out by Emilio Gonzalez, a body modification artist who left medical school to pursue his passion for extreme transformations. And before anyone could raise red flags, no pun intended, Henry underwent full psychiatric evaluations to ensure he was mentally sound. The result, he passed with flying colors. This wasn't about madness. It was about meaning. Henry insists he doesn't share Red Skull's villainous ideology, he just admires the character's boldness and unique look. For him, the transformation is about individuality, not intimidation. He calls it living art, a statement that challenges what society considers beautiful, normal, or acceptable. These days, Henry continues his work as a tattoo artist, using his own face as both portfolio and proof that identity is something you create. His look may shock strangers, but to him, it's simply the reflection of his inner world. And when you see him walking down the street, you might think villain. But Henry Rodriguez, he's just a man who turned fantasy into flesh and never looked back. Ted Richards, the man who became a parrot. Some people get a pet. Ted Richards became one. Known to the world as the Parrot Man, this retired British shoe factory worker turned his lifelong love of tropical birds into a jaw-dropping body transformation that left even his parrots stunned. It all started with a simple dream to look more like his 5 pet parrots, whom he treats as family. But Ted didn't just dye his hair or wear bird-themed shirts. He went all in. By 2015, he had his ears surgically removed. Yes, completely, because, as he explained, parrots don't have ears you can see. That operation alone took over 6 hours, but for Ted, it was just the beginning. He's since had over 110 tattoos, including vibrant feather patterns across his face and head. His eyes completely black from tattoo ink. His tongue split so he could mimic the movement of a beak. And yes, he even had metal horns inserted in his skull for flair, of course. But when he removed his ears, Ted ran into a small problem: he could no longer wear glasses. His solution, metal spikes embedded in his head, acting as anchor points as for his custom eyewear. If that doesn't scream commitment, nothing does. Despite his appearance, part bird, part sci-fi creature, Ted is remarkably grounded. He legally changed his name to Ted Parrotman just in case anyone missed the memo. And while he may not chirp or fly yet, his parrots reportedly do recognize him as one of their own. To outsiders, his look may be extreme, but to Ted, it's simple love makes you do wild things. And in his case, love came with feathers, beaks, and a permanent transformation that's anything but bird-brained. Rico Ledesma, the real-life orc. In Tolkien's universe, orcs are fearsome warriors, grotesque, battle-scarred, and bred for chaos. But in Brazil, one man took that fantasy to the next level. Meet Rico Ledesma, a former tattoo model who decided that being human just wasn't epic enough. His goal, to become a real-life orc. Rico's journey began like many others on this list with ink. He got his first tattoo at just 15, but it wasn't until he turned 40 that things took a much darker, orcish turn. In a bold move, Rico blacked out his entire face, covering even previous tattoos, to achieve the rough, shadowy skin tone of his fantasy alter ego. But he didn't stop there. To match the battle-damaged look of his favorite fantasy creatures, Rico surgically removed parts of his nose, ears, and upper lip. These intense procedures gave his face that signature torn and twisted orc profile without CGI. One of his most eye-popping modifications, a set of giant silicone tusks implanted directly into his mouth. The cost, around $500. The result, absolutely terrifying and totally on brand. Eating, smiling, or even talking might be more complicated now, but Rico is proud of his look. After all, heroes are overrated. Villains get all the style points. Most of his modifications were done by someone he trusts more than anyone, his wife Krishna, a fellow tattoo and body mod enthusiast. With pointed ears, tattoos, and implants of her own, Krishna is the perfect partner for an orc looking to conquer the world, or at least Instagram. To some, Rico's look is shocking, but for him, it's empowerment. It's ownership. It's the freedom to rewrite your own species one tusk at a time. Elaine Davidson, the woman of 1,000 piercings. If diamonds are a girl's best friend, then for Elaine Davidson, steel is a soulmate. Once a quiet nurse from Brazil, Elaine now holds the Guinness World Record for being the most pierced woman on Earth, a title she's kept since the year 2000. Her journey didn't begin with fame or rebellion. It started with a single piercing, then another, and then hundreds more. What began as curiosity became obsession and eventually identity. As of her last official count, Elaine has over 11,000 piercings, including on her face, ears, arms, chest, and yes, even places most wouldn't dare mention. But don't let the metal fool you. Elaine doesn't just pierce for shock, she pierces for power. She calls each piece a symbol of strength and independence, and many were done by her own hand. Her body is her journal, and every ring tells a story. She's more than her hardware. Elaine is a global performer, often appearing at piercing festivals and tattoo conventions, in glittering dramatic makeup and colorful flowing robes like a living totem of rebellion and freedom. Her style is eccentric, her energy magnetic. What's surprising, she doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, and practices meditation and clean living. Her life is full of discipline, even as her appearance screams chaos. Critics have called her extreme, but to Elaine, the judgment means nothing. In her words, "My piercings are part of who I am. I want to show people you can look different and still be kind, still be human." So, next time you think you've seen it all, remember Elaine Davidson, the woman who turned pain into beauty and metal into meaning. What if we told you the world's most unusual men aren't legends but real people walking among us? From a man who hasn't slept in 40 years to another with blue skin. These stories sound like fiction, but they're not. Step into a world where truth is stranger than fiction and discover the extraordinary men who defy every rule of nature, logic, and appearance, ready to be amazed. Yu Zhenhuan, the man covered in hair. Imagine being born with a secret the whole world could see. For Yu Zhenhuan, that secret was written all over his skin, literally. From the moment he came into the world in Shenyang, China, doctors were stunned. His tiny body wasn't soft and pink like other babies. It was covered in thick, dark hair. At first, they thought it might fade. It didn't. Instead, it spread. By the time Yu turned 5, 96% of his body was blanketed in hair, making him one of the hairiest people alive. As a child, Yu didn't need to do anything to stand out. His appearance did it for him. Other kids pointed, laughed, stared. Adults whispered behind his back. He wasn't just different, he was unforgettable. But while the world labeled him as a freak of nature, Yu refused to live in the shadows. He picked up a guitar. He learned the saxophone. He started acting, landing a role in a movie at just 6 years old. Rather than hide from the spotlight, Yu walked straight into it. He dreamed of becoming a rock star, and even with cameras zooming in on every inch of his hair-covered body, he kept going. But fame didn't mean freedom. Yu struggled to find clothes that fit. Hair in his ears caused hearing loss, leading to painful surgeries. He even tried laser treatments, hoping to reduce the hair, but nothing seemed to work. And yet, through it all, Yu Zhenhuan stood tall, living proof that the things that make us different can also make us remarkable. His story is more than just about hair. It's about resilience, identity, and the courage to embrace exactly who you are. Pakirapa Hunagundi, the man who eats bricks. What's the weirdest thing you've ever craved? Chips at midnight, a slice of cake for breakfast. Now imagine craving bricks. Not cookies, not candy. Real hard construction-grade bricks. For over 2 decades, Pakirapa Hunagundi, a man from a small village in India, has stunned doctors, neighbors, and the internet with one of the strangest diets on earth. Forget pizza or curry, Pakirapa's favorite snack is a handful of stones or a mouthful of mud. Every single day, he chomps down on nearly 3 kilograms of materials that most people wouldn't even step on barefoot. Brick cement drywall, if it crumbles, he'll chew it. And the craziest part, he's completely fine. His teeth still intact, his stomach shockingly healthy. He insists he's never felt sick from his unusual meals. In fact, he says he feels stronger after eating them. Doctors believe Pakirapa may suffer from pica, a rare eating disorder that causes people to crave non-food items like chalk hair or ice. But even among pica cases, Pakirapa is an extreme outlier. Most people eventually seek help. He just keeps eating. Offer him a plate of chicken and he'll turn it down. But pass him a broken brick and he'll grin like it's his birthday. When asked if he wants to stop, Pakirapa shrugs. "If someone can help me, I'll try," he says. "But until then, I'll eat what I love." It's bizarre, it's shocking, but it's real. Pakirapa reminds us that the human body and mind can adapt in ways we barely understand. Derek Paravicini, the living jukebox. What if you could hear a song once, just once, and then play it perfectly, note for note, forever? For most of us, that sounds like a superpower. For Derek Paravicini, it's just another Tuesday. Born 3 months premature, Derek faced overwhelming odds from day one. He was blind, diagnosed with autism, and doctors warned he might never speak or learn. But what they didn't see coming was a gift so rare it would leave even professional musicians speechless. By age 2, Derek had taught himself to play the piano by ear. No lessons, no sight, just pure instinct. He doesn't read music, he doesn't need to. If Derek hears it, he plays it flawlessly. Classical symphonies, pop hits, obscure jazz solos. It doesn't matter. Once the music enters his mind, it stays forever. They call him the human iPod. Others call him a miracle. But Derek, he just calls it fun. With perfect pitch and a memory that can recall over 20,000 pieces, he's performed all over the world, dazzling audiences with performances that sound more like magic than music. He can take a random request from the crowd, maybe a jingle from a TV ad, and turn it into a full concert piece on the spot. But behind the talent is a story of perseverance. Derek's parents refused to give up on him. They found teachers who believed in his potential, and with their help, he transformed his challenge into a calling. Derek Paravicini isn't just a musical genius. He's a reminder that brilliance can come wrapped in silence, struggle, and surprise. He doesn't need sight to see the beauty in sound. He hears the world in a way most of us never could. Paul Carrison, the man who turned blue. At first glance, Paul Carrison looked like a character straight out of a superhero comic with skin tinted a deep, startling shade of blue. But his story wasn't fiction. It was a real-life twist no one saw coming. In the early 2000s, Paul was an ordinary man struggling with everyday health issues, sinus infections, dermatitis, acid reflux. Desperate for relief, he turned to an old folk remedy, colloidal silver, a liquid solution once believed to have healing powers. But Paul didn't just take a few drops. He drank it daily, rubbed it on his skin. Over time, something shocking happened. His complexion began to change, slowly, subtly, and then all at once. His skin turned blue, permanently. The condition is called argyria, a rare reaction to silver particles building up in the body. While not immediately dangerous, it's irreversible. Paul didn't just change his appearance, he became a walking medical mystery. When the media caught wind of his story, Paul became famous overnight. Nicknamed the Blue Man, he appeared on national TV shows and drew both fascination and skepticism. Some mocked him, others admired his calm acceptance. But beneath the headlines was a man who never asked for the spotlight. Paul said the silver eased his arthritis and acid reflux, so he didn't regret taking it. He embraced his condition even when strangers stared. In 2013, Paul Carrison passed away from heart complications unrelated to his skin color. But his story remains one of the most surreal cautionary tales in medical history, a reminder that sometimes chasing a cure can lead to the most unexpected transformation of all. Chandra Bahadur Dangi, the shortest man ever recorded. In the misty hills of rural Nepal, hidden in a village few outsiders had ever heard of, lived a man no one could forget. His name, Chandra Bahadur Dangi. His claim to fame: he was the shortest adult human ever recorded, standing at just 21.5 inches tall. That's shorter than your average toddler. Chandra defied science, genetics, and every expectation of what the human body can be. For decades, he lived in quiet obscurity, weaving traditional crafts and helping around his home. There were no doctors, no media, no understanding of why he stopped growing. Most people in his village thought he was simply cursed or blessed by the gods. But in 2012, everything changed. The Guinness World Records team arrived tape measure in hand. When the numbers came in, jaws dropped. Chandra, already in his 70s, instantly became a global sensation. He traveled the world, appeared on talk shows, and even stood face to knee with Sultan Kozan, the world's tallest man. That moment, captured on camera, became iconic. And yet Chandra never let the spotlight change him. He remained humble, deeply connected to his roots. While others saw him as a curiosity, he saw himself as a representative of his people and his culture. Sadly, Chandra passed away in 2015 at the age of 75 while traveling abroad. But his story continues to inspire, not because he was small, but because he showed the world that even the smallest voice can leave the biggest mark. Anthony Lafredo, the man who became an alien. Most people get a tattoo to express themselves, maybe a sleeve, maybe a piercing. But Anthony Lafredo didn't just want to stand out, he wanted to leave humanity behind. From an early age, Anthony was obsessed with aliens, not the kind in comic books, but the idea of becoming something completely other, a being beyond Earth, beyond recognition. And he didn't just dream about it, he acted on it. It started with tattoos. Then came full-body black ink. Even his eyeballs, yes, his eyeballs were tattooed an eerie green, but that was just the beginning. He had his tongue split, his ears removed, and even his nose cut off to reshape his face. His lips gone, his skin embedded with implants to create ridges and unnatural contours. At one point, he even amputated 2 fingers to make his hand look more alien-like. The transformation is so extreme, many people can't believe he was ever just a regular guy from France. Today, he goes by the name The Black Alien Project, documenting his journey on social media for millions to witness. Critics call it madness, admirers call it art, but Anthony doesn't care what people think. For him, it's about freedom of identity, the right to shape your own body to match your vision, no matter how far it takes you from the norm. And while most of us struggle to embrace who we are, Anthony is out here redefining what it even means to be human. He's not trying to look like you, he's trying to become something we've never seen before. Love it or hate it. His transformation is unforgettable, and it challenges us to ask, how far would you go to become your true self? Nick Stoberl, the man with the longest tongue in the world. You've heard of long legs, long arms, but what about a tongue so long it broke a world record? Meet Nick Stoberl, a California-based artist and comedian who holds a title that'll make your jaw drop and maybe your tongue too. Nick's tongue measures a jaw-dropping 10.1 centimeters. That's nearly 4 inches, earning him a spot in the Guinness World Records as the man with the longest tongue in recorded history. Let that sink in. His tongue is longer than an iPhone. While most people use their tongue for talking or tasting, Nick takes it to a whole new level. He can lick his nose, his chin, and even his elbow, a move so rare it borders on impossible for the rest of us. But Nick didn't always know he was different. Growing up, he just thought he had a funny party trick. It wasn't until college that friends convinced him to measure it, and what he discovered changed his life. Since breaking the record, Nick has traveled the world, appeared on international talk shows, and become a social media sensation. He uses his fame not just to entertain, but also to inspire people to embrace what makes them unique, even if it's a tongue that could double as a paintbrush. Yes, you read that right. He sometimes paints with it. But beneath the laughs and licks, Nick's story is about confidence. In a world obsessed with normal, he turned his so-called oddity into a source of pride and proved that sometimes the things that make us weird are exactly what make us wonderful. Sam Burns, the boy who aged too fast. Most kids dream of growing up fast. For Sam Burns, it wasn't a dream, it was a heartbreaking reality. Born with progeria, a rare genetic disorder that causes rapid aging, Sam's body aged up to 10 times faster than normal. By the time he was a teenager, he looked like an elderly man. Wrinkled skin, fragile bones, heart complications all packed into a frame that barely stood 4 feet tall. But Sam didn't want pity. He wanted to live, and live he did brilliantly, joyfully, and fearlessly. While doctors said he might not live past 13, Sam shattered those odds. He attended high school, played the snare drum in the marching band, aced his classes, and made friends who saw him not just his condition. He loved science comic books and had big dreams of going to college. In 2013, Sam delivered a TEDx talk that left the world in tears and in awe. With wisdom far beyond his years, he spoke about happiness, resilience, and choosing to focus on what you can do, not what you can't. Millions watched. Millions listened. "I don't waste energy feeling bad for myself," he said. "I surround myself with people I want to be with, and I keep moving forward." He became the face of hope for children with progeria and inspired a movement toward research and awareness. His parents even helped launch a foundation to fight the disease and save lives. Sam passed away in 2014 just before his 18th birthday, but his message never died. His light still shines not because he lived long, but because he lived well. His story proves a powerful truth. It's not the number of years in your life, but the life in your years that truly matters. Stephen Wiltshire, the human camera. Close your eyes and picture New York City, every street, every skyscraper, every window. Can't do it, Stephen Wiltshire can, and he only needs to see it once. Stephen is known around the world as the human camera. Diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, he didn't speak his first word until he was 5. But while language came slowly, something else came fast and fierce: art. As a child growing up in London, Stephen spent hours sketching animals, cars, and buildings with uncanny accuracy. By the time he was a teenager, he wasn't just drawing pictures, he was recreating entire cities from memory. No maps, no photos, just his mind. In one of his most jaw-dropping feats, Stephen took a single 20-minute helicopter ride over New York City. When he landed, he sat in front of a massive 18-foot canvas and over the next several days drew the entire city skyline in perfect detail from memory. Every window, every bridge, every shadow in its exact place. He's done the same for Tokyo, Rome, Dubai, London, and more, each time stunning the world with the precision of a satellite delivered through the hand of a humble artist. But Steven doesn't brag. He doesn't chase fame. He simply says, "I love drawing. It makes me feel happy." His work now hangs in galleries around the world. He's met royalty presidents and celebrities. And yet he remains grounded, living proof that a quiet mind can hold extraordinary power. Stephen Wiltshire didn't just find his voice through art, he built a world with it. And in doing so, he reminds us all that sometimes the most incredible visions don't come from cameras, they come from within. Claudio Vieira de Oliveira, the man born upside down. When Claudio Vieira de Oliveira was born in Brazil, doctors were speechless and some were even heartless. His neck was twisted back, his head tilted sharply upside down, and his limbs severely deformed. The prognosis grim. They told his mother not to feed him. They said he wouldn't survive. But Claudio had other plans. He wasn't broken, he was just built differently. Despite living with arthrogryposis, a rare condition that contorts joints and muscles, Claudio refused to live a life of limits. His parents never treated him as fragile. They carried him, encouraged him, and taught him to believe that nothing was impossible. And he believed them. Claudio learned to write with a pen in his mouth. He learned to type using his lips. He used a custom keyboard, read books upside down, and eventually earned a degree in accounting. Not just that he became an international motivational speaker, traveling the world to share his message of hope, faith, and fierce determination. He lives independently, climbs stairs on his knees, and handles a cell phone better than most people with 2 working hands. When people stare, he smiles. "God gave me a different way of seeing the world," he says, "and I use it." Claudio's story is not just about survival. It's about choosing purpose over pity. In a world quick to judge by appearance, he reminds us that courage has no shape, and strength can come from the most unexpected forms. He wasn't meant to live, and yet he's thriving, living proof that the human spirit can bend, twist, and still stand tall. Sajjad Garibi, the Iranian Hulk. He doesn't need green paint or CGI effects. When Sajjad Garibi walks into a room, jaws drop, cameras click, people stare. Why? Because standing at 6'1" tall and weighing nearly 400 pounds, he looks less like a man and more like a living superhero. They call him the Iranian Hulk. Some say he's the real-life Persian Hercules. But Sajjad wasn't born with this physique. He built it one brutal workout at a time. From a young age, he was obsessed with strength. Not just gym strength, but bone-crushing, jaw-clenching power. His transformation stunned even seasoned lifters, biceps the size of tires, a chest like armor, and legs like tree trunks. Soon, photos of his monstrous size flooded the internet. Social media couldn't get enough. Millions followed, memes exploded, and the legend of the Iranian Hulk was born. But beneath the muscle lies ambition. Sajjad isn't just flexing for fame, he has big dreams. He's trained for professional fighting, even calling out opponents in the world of MMA and WWE. His goal to become Iran's first international wrestling superstar. He's already made headlines, once famously challenging a bodybuilder from the UK to a face-off that never happened. But controversy didn't stop him. The world watches every move, waiting to see whether this internet titan can truly dominate the ring. Still, fame has its shadows. Critics question his authenticity. Some claim it's Photoshop. Others mock his fighting skills. But Sajjad doesn't flinch. He keeps lifting, keeps training, keeps believing. Because for him, strength isn't just about size, it's about proving the impossible is possible. Arlindo de Souza, the man with exploding biceps. From a distance, Arlindo de Souza looks like a comic book come to life. Massive arms stretching nearly 29 inches, around veins popping, muscles bulging like balloons ready to burst. But get a little closer and you'll realize this isn't natural. This is something else entirely. They call him the mountain in Brazil. But Arlindo didn't earn those muscles from years in the gym. He got them from a syringe. In a desperate attempt to build muscle fast, Arlindo began injecting his biceps with a homemade cocktail of alcohol oil and painkillers, a dangerous trend known in the underground fitness world as synthol. The results were instant. His arms grew to monstrous proportions, and so did the risk. Doctors warned him one wrong injection could mean amputation or worse. But the temptation of instant size, the rush of attention, and the dream of becoming a local legend were too powerful to resist. Arlindo became a sensation in his town. People would stop him on the street, ask for photos, call him a living Hulk. But not everyone applauded. Many called him fake, others called him reckless. And the truth, they weren't wrong. He lost a close friend, Paulinho, another synthol user who died after an infection. It was a wake-up call, and yet Arlindo kept going. Now, years later, he's a walking warning. His arms may be huge, but they're stiff, unnatural, and filled with regret. He admits it wasn't worth the pain or the permanent damage. Arlindo's story isn't about strength. It's about obsession, about the dangerous line between ambition and addiction, and how far some are willing to go to feel enough. Zanziman Eli, the Jungle Boy. In a remote village surrounded by dense forest lived a boy the world refused to understand. His name was Eli, but most people didn't call him by name. They called him a monster, a beast, a gorilla child. Why? Because Eli looked different. His facial features were unusually shaped, his eyes wide and deep, and his mouth slightly protruded. To outsiders, he looked wild, but what truly set him apart was how he lived. Rejected by his peers and shunned by villagers, Eli fled into the forest where he found peace among the trees, the grass, and the animals. He didn't speak. He didn't play. He ate grass, slept in the jungle, and moved like someone born of nature, not society. To some, he was a curiosity. To others, a tragedy. But then something incredible happened. Eli's story went viral. Videos of him munching on plants and moving through the forest spread across the internet. And instead of mockery, the world responded with something unexpected compassion. People from around the globe donated money, shared his story, and begged for help on his behalf. Organizations stepped in. Eli was brought out of isolation and slowly introduced to school therapy and structured care. At first it was hard. Communication was nearly impossible. But step by step, Eli began to open up. He learned words. He learned to smile. He began to connect. Today, Eli is no longer just the Jungle Boy. He's a symbol of resilience, of what can happen when instead of judging someone who is different, we offer them a chance. Because sometimes all it takes to transform a life is one person willing to see the human beneath the surface. Justin Jedlicka, the human Ken doll. What happens when chasing perfection becomes your full-time identity? Meet Justin Jedlicka, the man who looked in the mirror one day and decided being human just wasn't enough. His goal, to look like Ken, the iconic plastic doll, and he wouldn't stop until he did. It started innocently, a single nose job at age 18. But one procedure became 2, then 5, then 10. Fast forward to today, and Justin has undergone over 500 cosmetic surgeries, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to sculpt the face and body of his dreams. From shoulder implants to bicep enhancements, cheek augmentations, and even custom-designed six-pack abs, Justin has rebuilt nearly every inch of himself, not through the gym, but through the scalpel. He doesn't lift weights. He doesn't chase trends. He designs his own implants, literally sketching out his vision of beauty and having it brought to life by surgeons. But for Justin, this isn't about vanity. It's about art, expression, control. My body is my canvas, he says. Plastic surgery is my medium. While many criticize him for promoting unrealistic standards, Justin remains unapologetic. He embraces the controversy, often appearing in documentaries, interviews, and reality shows to share his philosophy. You have the right to become whoever you want to be, even if that person doesn't look real. Love him or hate him? Justin Jedlicka forces us to confront a difficult question. Where do we draw the line between transformation and obsession? And maybe in his perfectly chiseled face, we see something deeper, a reflection of our own endless pursuit of perfection. Gary Turner, the man with the world's stretchiest skin. What if your skin could stretch like rubber? Not just a little, but enough to wrap over your face, pull across your chest, or hold 3 pints of beer on your stomach like a table for Gary Turner. That's not a party trick. It's everyday life. Gary holds the Guinness World Record for the stretchiest skin on Earth, pulling the skin on his stomach over 6 inches outward without pain, without effort. Watching him do it feels like something out of a sci-fi movie, but it's real, very real. The secret, a rare genetic disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS. It affects the body's connective tissues, making them hyper-elastic. For some, it causes pain and dislocations. For Gary, it unlocked a strange, surreal talent. Growing up, Gary didn't always see it as a gift. He was bullied, misunderstood, and often viewed as a sideshow. But instead of hiding, he leaned into the weird. He joined the circus. He became a performer. And eventually he turned his condition into a career educating and astonishing people worldwide. On stage, he stretches his cheeks like pizza dough, pulls the skin on his neck like a scarf, and leaves audiences gasping. Off stage, he advocates for awareness of EDS, showing the world that rare doesn't mean broken. At over 50 years old, Gary's body may bend in ways that seem unnatural, but his spirit, solid as ever. He doesn't chase normal. He embraces extraordinary, because sometimes being different isn't a disadvantage. It's a spotlight. Ty Nock, the man who hasn't slept in over 40 years. We all know what happens after one sleepless night: grumpiness, exhaustion, maybe too much coffee. Now imagine going 4 decades without a single hour of sleep. Sounds impossible, right? Not for Ty Nock, a farmer from central Vietnam who hasn't closed his eyes since the early 1970s, and somehow he's still going strong. According to Nock, it all began after a fever in 1973. When his illness passed, something strange happened. He simply stopped sleeping. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still no rest. At first he thought it was temporary, but as the years rolled by, sleep never returned. Doctors doubted him until they visited his small village and confirmed the unbelievable. He truly never seemed to sleep. No dark circles, no fatigue, no collapse. Instead, Nock spent his nights tending to his farm, brewing rice wine, and caring for his animals as the rest of the world dreamed. Scientists can't explain it. Some suggest his brain has adapted to rest in microbursts. Others believe it's pure anomaly. But whatever the reason, Ty Nock defies biology. He's 83 years old now, still sharp, still strong, still awake. "I feel normal," he says with a grin. "If I can't sleep, I'll work." In a world obsessed with 8 hours a night, Ngok's story challenges everything we know about the human body. Is he a medical mystery or proof that the limits of life are wider than we think? Either way, he's the man who hasn't slept in